WHB. Brought to you by Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
I'm on a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We've got you for the next 4 hours. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. We'll talk some NFL football. Shocking, I know. Surprise. People are taken aback. Hold on. You guys are going to talk some NFL football today? We may get around to it. We might find some time to do that today. We'll also, we'll talk a little Major League Baseball too, whether you like it or not. Hot in your face. Talk a little Rawls baseball. Josh Kaiser will come up in the noon hour, and he is from Run Royal.
I've been running away from the Royals for a good part of this season.
One Royal win against the Mariners Way podcast.
It was a cold shot for them.
Incredibly specific that he's been doing for like 2 years. All for this August 14th through the 17th series against the Mariners.
One Royal win against the Mariners.
Crazy.
It's like those tattoos that people will get, like someone's already got the Detroit Lions 2023 champions tattoo or whatever, which I think they actually went 24. Someone did this. And guys, hey, everybody, don't do that. Unless you're a Chiefs fan. And then it's like a toss-up.
Dude got a 40-0 Kentucky 2015 National Championship tattoo before the Final Four. He couldn't change it to 38-1. That was a little more difficult to do. He did not go 40-0.
What? If anyone listening,
all you had to do was wait a week.
If anyone listening has been in that cold shot tattoo space, please text in.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to get mad at you if you did it the week after. It seems incredibly risky.
I just want to understand the logic.
There is none.
It's get the Super Bowl celebration tattoo or whatever. Go to town. I've seen some great ones. I've also seen some questionable ones. It's a mixed bag. But the cold shot.
Boy, the logic, there is none. Did you see the story about the lady who was catfished by the Stranger Things actor?
I sure did.
So the Stranger Things actor, the high school kid, right, the older one?
Dacre Montgomery is his real name, the Australian. Plays Billy, long curly hair.
Dacre McDackerman.
Yeah, exactly. Billy from Stranger Things, as I call him.
Billy from Stranger Things. This lady was on an art website, and Dacre McDackerson started texting her, DM or whatever, about how much he liked her art. And they started talking, and he said, "You know what? I'm really enjoying this. I think we should hang out. I think we should be together." And she had such a crush on him that she left her husband and started sending Dacre McDackerson money, who's in Stranger Things, by the way.
$10,000.
Only to find out she was being catfished. Shocker. Mind blower, right? She's got 2 kids, was married, and was sending him $10,000. 2 kids, married, $10,000 gone because of a crush on a dude in Stranger Things who she thought was real on an art website.
Asking her for money!
Where's the logic? Oh. It would have been better if she would have just got a 40-0 tattoo. Oh. If she would have just done that. Lions 2023 Super Bowl champions. Just do that.
She left her family.
Yeah.
She left her husband for a catfish guy from Stranger Things and sent $10,000 to him.
I mean, it'd be different if she left her husband just to go fishing for catfish. That would have been better.
That's absolutely better.
Smarter.
Doesn't cost $10,000 to get into that hobby.
No, not at all. In fact, it can make you money, and you feed the family.
The family you used to have.
You learn how to fish. You eat for a lifetime. You buy a fish, you eat once.
Now, this line in the...
Fish is plural is fi, right?
I think that's right.
Fi. Fish, plural, fi.
The thing in this Entertainment Weekly story, eventually they changed the tone here in this paragraph to the single mom said she became convinced the scammer was Montgomery. She wasn't a single mom when this started.
Yeah. She is now.
The single mom by choice because she was so excited about Dacre McDackerson.
It's an elective. It was an elected class. She took it. She didn't have to. She chose to take that route.
Michaela of Kentucky by the way.
Yep, there you go. Well,
Revealed that she left her husband for, quote, Montgomery, unquote, after the two met an online forum for creatives.
I feel like she should now figure out who this catfish person was and then see if they work out.
Yeah, I mean, she's newly single.
Yeah.
Dating is hard.
Yep. Single, ready to mingle.
Got to take those connections where you can get them after you've divorced your husband for a catfish.
$10,000. Well, there are a few people have divorced their significant others for much worse than a catfish. So let's be honest about that one.
Does this guy feel like he dodged a bullet, or is his life in shambles? I guess probably both, right?
Well, I would like the $10,000 back.
I would love the $10,000 back. Yeah.
I mean, where'd the $10,000 come from? And it was also $10,000 in gift cards, by the way.
Oh, that's so much worse. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, because what's his name? Dak?
Yeah, sure.
Dacre McDackerson?
It's Dacre, but he's Australian.
Dacre McDackerson.
I think it might be Dacre, I guess. I don't know.
He had convinced this lady that his ex-girlfriend, a model, had control of his bank account. So he couldn't actually get cash. So he needed $10,000 in gift cards. And she was like, plausible. Sounds legit. Yeah. Why? Of course. That makes total sense that your girlfriend would have control of your bank account. Your girlfriend that apparently you have a joint bank account with your girlfriend.
And I got such a strong hankering for a little Outback Steakhouse. A little taste of home. I could really use $50 to Outback.
G'day, Dacre McDackerson. G'day.
I really need a bloomin' onion.
All right, 913-912-4810. Let's get into the show today. We talk about that. We talk about tattoos, premature tattoos, and things like that. 913-912-4810. We'll talk with Josh Kaiser from One Royal Way podcast coming up at noon. Matt Derrick from One Chiefs Way Digest or ChiefsDigest.com. Matt Derrick will join us at 11 o'clock, and he'll be in studio today, so we'll get to see him, and I love seeing even less of him every time we see him. That's great. So we'll hang out with Matt Derrick in the 11 o'clock hour. Mick Schaefer will join us later on in the show. We got the cuts before the show is over as well. All of that we will get into on this Friday. We'll talk about what we want to see from the Chiefs tomorrow in Arizona. I don't want to see injuries. I just want everybody to be healthy.
I want to see some happy blades of grass.
That's all.
With deep roots.
Number one, just nobody get injured.
I want grass that wants to stick together to the ground.
Here's my prediction. People are going to see it and immediately start going, oh, my God, it's awful.
Yep.
Because the middle of the field looks like what Arrowhead looked like at times in like the late 90s, early 2000s when it was like dead grass and almost like brown. That's what it looks like in Arizona, which, by the way, I think I'll take that.
Yes.
Rather than everybody just sliding on the ice rink that was the Super Bowl. Because it feels like that grass has been used and played on, practiced on, so maybe worked in a little bit more.
The current grass that's out there now.
Yeah, the current grass, rather than spraying water and freezing.
Yeah.
And then saying, let's see what football hockey looks like.
Yeah, let's learn about this all together. Everybody think that you ever slid around on some not quite functionally dried paint? Enjoy.
What if we just took grass, turn it into wax, and then spray paint it on top of it?
Waxy is probably the right word. Yeah, I just can't believe Eddie Mangan got away with that. But he's not involved for this preseason game as far as I can tell.
Eddie Mangan, you lied.
I need the sod
Tell the truth, Eddie. So that's how the show lines up today.
We need the sod father back.
Yes.
Soon.
We will get into the Chiefs conversation. One of the things we're going to do is Camp Confidence Deal.
It's Jason's great idea and my terrible name. Welcome to the zone, everybody. Camp Confidential.
Yes.
Where I think if I've understood the assignment correctly, we're going to discuss on a scale of 1 to 10 how confident we were in a position group entering training camp. See how confident we are now as the Chiefs have exited training camp.
That's right.
We'll see the difference. Try to maybe we'll discuss what made those changes happen for us.
That's right.
And I've gone through my report card and I've got some interesting numbers.
I have as well. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, just so we preview this for when we get into it. 10 is not that, like quarterback 10 would be like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is amazing, but it's also the confidence level. So let's say you had a 10 confidence in tight end. Mm-hmm. Well, I keep using best in the league there. Sorry.
Yeah, well, tight end moved a point for me. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so maybe you had a 10 confidence in linebacker. Like the linebacker group's pretty awesome. I got it. Doesn't mean they're a 10 out of 10 in how good the linebackers are. Just your confidence in how good they can be as you look at this team and questions or answers that may have been there before camp or after camp. So that's sort of the parameters, the basis of what we'll do here in this hour. I do want to start real quick, though, with the Rawls.
Hit me.
And the loss to the Mariners. And I don't know what to make of this 4-game set because they seem to be close, but they're losing to a good team that's 21-11 since the All-Star break, the Mariners. They are a half game out of the wild card. They're playing some phenomenal baseball. They're 11-4 in their last 15 games. They swept the Angels, swept the Padres. I think they lost 2 of 3 to the Orioles, but still, they've been on a tear. The Mariners have, and one of the hottest teams in baseball. They come into Kansas City. The Royals take the first one, and it's like, wow, the Mariners are a really strange team, and these two teams played some weird games over the last few days. The Royals end up losing 3 of 4, and they lost the aggregate scoring 28-24. Like, they were there in it every game with opportunities to win those games, including yesterday in the 8th inning with 1 out and Julio Rodriguez up and your quote-unquote best reliever in Carlos Hernandez, and 1 pitch later you're down by a run. End up losing by 2 because the run that was given up in the 9th inning by John McMillan making his MLB debut, which I'm kind of excited about to see what he can do. Hitting 102 with a sharp, nasty slider. So I'm excited about that guy who has 90 strikeouts and 50 innings in the minor leagues so far this year, and then struck out 2 of 3 outs that he got. Gave up a home run. Got a warning by the umpire. I mean, just a whole, it's the entire spectrum of your Major League debut. That's exactly right. And so they end up losing 28-24 in the aggregate scoring. But again, it's a really hot team. And it's a hot team with a superstar.
Yeah,
that was essentially the difference in the game. Like, the Mariners have some good players. Ty France is a Royal killer. And they have an immensely talented stud in Julio Rodriguez. And I don't know if that's the basis of comparison that the Royals could look at and say, okay, here's what the Mariners are doing. Now go through and point out all of the all-stars on this Mariners team. Now they got some Luis Castillo. They gave up some minor leaguers for Luis Castillo. They've got some guys. They've got some bullpen arms. The Royals do not. So they lose by 4 runs in the 4 games with an atrocious bullpen. Terrible bullpen. And the Mariners have some pretty decent arms. But if you look at that team and the Royals team and what the Royals maybe want to be, that's where you say, can they build around Bobby Witt in a couple of years when you still have a couple of years left of Bobby Witt? Can you look something like the Mariners where a Julio Rodriguez carries you, and in the last 2 games, they had split the series, 1 game apiece with the Royals, 2 games left, and he goes in those 2 games 9 of 11 with 11 RBIs. 11 RBIs. And the biggest hit of the series that goes from a 3 out of 4 to a split series is down by 2, hitting a 3-run shot in the top of the 8th inning. But he also had, throughout these last 2 games, in the game on Wednesday, 1st and 3rd, 1 out, single RBI. 1st and 3rd, 2 outs, single RBI. There's 2 runs. The Mariners end up winning by 2 in that game. That's how it works. The final score is always related back to the 3rd and the 5th inning.
You add up all 9,
yep, that's
and then you don't subtract ever?
Never.
That's so
never.
weird. Okay, my bad.
And in the game yesterday, and it's like, man, can they just pitch around him because they've been killing him?
Treat him like Barry Bonds for just the rest of the series.
The problem is, pitching around the leadoff hitter is difficult when you let the bottom of the order get on.
That hurts.
He comes up 1st and 3rd with 2 outs, single RBI. Give him 1 run. Now remember, it was 4-2 in the 8th inning. Single RBI. There's their first run. Comes up later. 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Double RBI. There's a second run. 8th inning, 1st and 2nd, 1 out. 3-run home run. There was already 2 guys on in front of him. So the choice for Quatrero is, do we load the bases to bring up Eugenio Suarez, or do we pitch to Julio Rodriguez? knowing the result now, load the bases for Suarez.
Right.
Let's see what happens. Take your chances with that guy instead of somebody who apparently the baseball looks like a beach ball right now coming into the over the plate. I mean, 97 on the inside part of the plate, his first swing against Carlos Hernandez, he crushes 440. Like it's Bobby Witt. Like it's what we talk about with Bobby Witt. Julio Rodriguez is that guy. He won Rookie of the Year for a reason. But I mean, just simply destroyed the Royals in the last couple of games with 3 doubles and a home run and 11 RBIs total and 5 RBIs yesterday in the game. They scored 6 runs. The 6th run was the home run by Cal Raleigh in the 9th inning. I mean, it was Julio Rodriguez 5, Royals 4 in the game. He was a superstar that played like a superstar and carried them in big moments. Guys had to be on base in front of him because the Royals couldn't just pitch around him and say, well, put this guy on and we'll face, with 2 outs, nobody on, and we're up by a run. We ain't throwing to that guy. We'll face Suarez. You're going to put the tying run on first? Yes.
Yes.
Because that tying run's probably going to come around to score when he hits at 450. Or he's going to be at second when he laces a double. So we're not going to do that. It was a difficult spot because the guys in front of him got on base, and Taylor Hearn comes in the 8th inning and gives up. There's 1 out, nobody on in the 8th inning. Royals are up by 2, and the 8 and 9 hitter are up. Royals are up by 2, 1 out in the 8th inning, 8 and 9 come up. Double, walk, home run. I mean, and that's the game. But that's the bullpen right now with the Royals.
Right.
They don't have those answers. The Mariners do, and that's why the Mariners are a half game out of the wild card, and the Royals are dreaming of what could be because they're playing well against a really good team.
Which, in the case of this series, what is the series result if you return to the Royals Aroldis Chapman and Scott Barlow?
It's an interesting
because
question.
it's definitely different. I mean, definitely is a big word in sports, but
More
it's
than likely.
most likely different.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes it a split series. I don't know if you steal a couple of these, but when you're talking about the bullpen being the issue and letting these games go late, and even going back to the one they won when the bullpen gave that game up and squandered an incredible outing from Brady Singer. That was another the bullpen melted down. The bullpen contributed to a loss 4 times. They only lost 3 of them successfully. And look, I say that not to be like, man, wouldn't it be sweet to have Barlow and Chapman back? Because I would be a fool to change my stance on that after some frustrating games. The beautiful thing here,
because it'd be so awesome if they were 41 and 82.
Exactly. Right. Who cares if they're 41 and 82 instead of 39 and 84? But you see, they made a choice by moving those guys of, hey, look, we know they're not pitching meaningful games for us the rest of this year, so there will be some games that we trip and fall on our face a little bit because we don't have these 2 arms we could trust the most coming out of the bullpen in high leverage moments. These games are the consequences of that, which you'll take 10 times out of 10 if you get some Reagan's optimism in your veins. If you can believe in a future where you are rebuilding the farm system a little bit. That's the cost. The sweet thing is that we're talking about Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt as peers here correctly. We compare the 2 of them right before Bobby Witt left the leadoff spot. I think it was probably when we spent some time, because I was looking at Julio Rodriguez's year to that point, and he had been having a pretty quiet start to the year.
He wasn't doing much.
He has this incredible rookie campaign. He then, calling it disappointing might be overstating it, but it was certainly a step down from where he was last year. And it's kind of interesting to chart these guys. Well, now they're both walking on fire. They are that gif of the dude just in full flames walking to work with a briefcase in his hand every day. That's these 2 guys. And you can see the comparisons. And if the Royals would have held on to their veteran bullpen arms, we might be talking about, wow, how cool is it that the Royals are like here going blow for blow with the Mariners? They still were. They just voluntarily moved on from 2 valuable pieces to build for the future. So even in these losses, close and frustrating losses, you hate to see the bullpen blow it at the end because you have all these good feelings going into the top of the 8th and then poof. I understand as a viewer why that is not very satisfying. But it doesn't bother me one bit because it feels like the arrow finally is pointed in the right direction.
The offense for the Mariners, again, this is half game out of the wild card. Stud Julio Rodriguez leading off, and then followed by, these are the batting averages of the guys after Julio Rodriguez. 233, 250, 248, 221, 273 by Marlowe in left field, 162, 196, 237, 207. That's their lineup. But they've got a stud. They've got some power hitters in there. They've got some defense, although, they had some errors and things like that that kept some teams, kept the Royals in the game and had them, score some runs
Still
off of that.
Still not an error from that inside the Parker, right? We're still
Nope,
good there?
that is not.
Take that, Les Norman.
That is not an error at all. That was not an error. It shouldn't be an error by losing the ball in the lights. It's not the fielder's fault. But it then becomes the pitcher's fault. That's life. If you don't like it, you don't have to pitch.
I saw
don't
inside
have to
the
be
Parker
Major League
home run. That's the
Baseball.
only thing I'm invested in.
You were there for that one.
I was there.
You were there for that one. Like, you're not talking about the 27 Yankees there. But they've got good pitching. They've got good bullpen. They've got a couple of guys that are, ones and twos on actual rotations, not just ones and twos, because somebody's got to be the one and a two in a rotation. And that's how they built it. That's doable for the Royals. They've also gotten really hot because they weren't necessarily in it at the All-Star break, and they've gotten really hot, and they are playing 10 games over 500 since the All-Star break, and now they're only a game out or a half game out of the wild card. It can happen that fast. It's happened for the Orioles. It's happened for the Diamondbacks with you in your Diamondbacks jersey.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened for the Reds. It's happened for the who else is out there like that? I don't know. Just throw another team out there. I don't know. I think I already said the Orioles.
The thing that stands out about the Mariners and the Reds in particular is the power of one electrifying superstar. And look, and Cincy has built more beyond Ellie De La Cruz, but watching him is different. It's just different. Julio Rodriguez is a little bit different. Bobby Witt, watching him is different. You can see it. And that's something, maybe that's something that does work about baseball on like a childlike level. Maybe that's something that helps get the hooks in from such an early age, is that there is occasionally one of those rare guys that will show up and you're just like, it is truly like hard to look away. The Mariners and the Royals, as shocking as it may be to say this with a straight face and total confidence, they both have that now. And that is so exciting for baseball in Kansas City.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll get into the Chiefs camp confidence, y'all. We'll go through where we were before camp, where we are coming out of St. Joe, and what that may mean moving forward with just a couple of games left in the preseason and then the regular season getting underway. We'll talk with Matt Derrick coming up at 11 o'clock. Get his thoughts on some of these things as well. Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer after Josh, and we will continue rolling until 2 o'clock on this Friday. More Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
All right, so the Chiefs are heading to Arizona. Face off against the Cardinals tomorrow, 7 o'clock, KSHB 41. Pre-game, post-game right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And we'll get into a conversation about things we want to see, things we're watching for in this preseason game number 2. We'll talk with Matt Derrick. He's got his projected 53-man roster coming out of the St. Joe camp. And so we'll talk with him about some of the decisions he made in constructing his roster, getting to 25 offensive players, 25 defensive players. And, last year they kept 26 offensive players. It might be difficult to only keep 25 offensive players, but we'll see. They typically go 25, and then 3 specialists to get to 53. So we'll see. We'll talk with Matt Derrick about some of those things coming up in the 11 o'clock hour.
Keep 2 extra players if you just followed our advice from yesterday and just went ahead and cut your punter and kicker, because Justin Reed can do kickoffs.
Thank you.
I mean, let's just go for 2, go for 4th downs.
Yeah.
Well, I guess at that point, James Winchester, who I do love because long snappers got to stick together, but he doesn't really need to be here for not kicking anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
So we got 3 extra roster spots for you, Coach.
3 roster spots
You're
right there.
welcome.
Yeah.
I can't believe they don't hire us.
Welcome to the team, Remigio.
Yeah, we'll sneak you on the active roster here.
Let's go, Halacey. Welcome to the team, guy. All right, so let's get into our camp conference. Joel.
I love it.
Where we were before, where we were after. We'll start with the offense, and then the next segment we'll go to the defensive side.
And again, this is level of confidence, not ranking them against the rest of the league or their skill levels. But
yes, don't care about their skill level versus the rest of the league. It's just where we were, confidence in the construct of the team.
Yeah.
Confidence in, okay, this is an issue I'm worried about going into the season. I ain't worried about this at all. That's good. Put that off on the side. Set it and forget it, right? Put it in the oven, boom, set it, forget it, move on to something else. We're good. We can focus on these other little details that might be there. So where we were before camp started, heading into that July 19th, 20th, 21st weekend versus August 18th. So 28 days is where Chris Jones is actually at today. I believe this is the 28th or 29th day of camp that Chris Jones has missed, which is about 29 more days than I thought he would miss.
We are all a little surprised by that.
Yes. So when you hear that number, it does sort of put it into context.
I wish it would put it in a contract.
Yeah, contract. Puts it into contrast.
Yeah.
You can just see there, not there. It's a contrasting styles of what the Chiefs look like defensively with and without him. Let's talk offense. Quarterback. Pretty simple, 10-10.
This is the one that is going to make it hard to learn how the game works because it's a 10-10.
I put 11.
You put an 11?
Might as well,
God.
11 and then 10 or 10 and then 11?
10 then 11.
Okay, so you're
good.
even more confident in the Chiefs quarterback position. Okay.
If I wanted to be the tiniest bit nitpicky, I could do a 9.5 to 9.5 because new backup quarterback situation, and Blaine Gabbert is not in my trust yet. But it's 10-10 because Mahomes.
It's Mahomes. I don't care about who the backup quarterback is. I don't care about who the third quarterback is. So 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11.
Perfect. The way we should be doing the quarterbacks. That's perfect.
Great. It's like the Andy Reid practices, a 10, 10, 10.
It's a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11.
Let's get into running backs.
Let's do it because this one's interesting.
Running backs, again, this is not skill level comparing to the rest of the league. I'm not doing that. This is confidence of how I feel about the overall positional group heading into camp. I had it as a 10 as well.
I had it at a 9.
Okay. Had it at 9.
I left it at 8.
Okay.
Entering camp.
So 10,
8,
9,
9,
8.
10.
10, 9, 8. And anywhere from 8 to 10.
Good range.
After, I've got it as an 8. I dropped it 2 spots. I've got it as an 8.
I have it as a 6. I've dropped it 3 spots.
Okay.
I left it the same.
Okay.
I didn't move it.
Well, you and I are the same in an 8. So let's talk about that. I dropped it 2 spots because of still the shoulder with Pacheco. It's only one game. It is only one game. So keep in mind with the Deneric Prince talk, it's only one game. But coming out of that game when kickoffs didn't look all that great, he did pick up a couple of blitzes, which I liked because that's going to get him on the field.
Yes.
But he is also moved back this week in practice in, first, second, third team reps. P. Ryan has moved ahead of him. Now, is that a matter of Andy Reid saying he's got dead legs? He's got tired legs. That's why his pad level wasn't getting low. He's been worked and worked. There's been no Pacheco. McKinnon gets light work because he's an older guy. So there's been a lot of Deneric Prince. We got to get you out there, learn the playbook. A lot of Prince Then you get into your first game, and it's like, dude, you've been at camp for 3 weeks and pads, and you got there early because you're a rookie, so you've been there longer than some of these other guys. So that could be the case, that Deneric Prince just has dead legs, he's tired, he's got the camp legs. But the fact that he is now moved behind Perine this week, so we're doing it right now, how we feel this second, today, the Pacheco injury still, which I think he'll be fine for week 1, but still, and Deneric Prince early on, not necessarily looking like I was hoping he would look like. I've dropped to 2 spots to an 8. But I'm still confident because I believe Pacheco will be ready to go. You know I love Jerick McKinnon. And I think Edwards-Helaire is fine. I think if you block 4 yards, Edwards-Helaire are going to get you 4 yards. If you block 3 yards, Edwards-Helaire are going to get you 3 yards. If you block 5, he'll get you 5. So he's a fine running back. He's not going to turn a 5-yard gain into a 2-yard gain.
Most of the time.
More than likely.
More than likely.
More than likely, unless he doesn't see the cutback, which typically happens.
Occasionally happens, yeah.
So Dylan's the same. So, but you dropped it 3 spots to a 6.
I did, and my only note in the parentheses I have here is just the word health. Because it is a little bit of concern with Isaiah Pacheco, who, like, I'm not even really that concerned about him staying on the field once he's on the field, even though he is as violent as he is. He made it through last season as a rookie in his first 17-game season. It was actually a 20-game season. He had severe banged-up injury issues that they had to take care of in the offseason, but he made it through the whole year. But I now am wondering, what percentage will he be at when the Lions come to town? And it's just a difficult position to stay at, healthily through an entire course of the year. I might be overreacting a little bit to how cautious the Chiefs have been with Jerick McKinnon. It's the right move regardless, but I am a little concerned about when that balloon pops for him. What does it take to stay healthy and to stay worthwhile? I think he will be good for another year. I think they're managing this well, but it's just a ton of Clyde and a ton of Prince, and I'm with you. Tiny sample size, and I'm not out on Deneric Prince. In fact, I'm still in on Deneric Prince, but my hope was that he might be able to take a workload early as Pacheco works back, and it seems a little bit more like Prince might be a guy who could take more of a workload later in the year when Pacheco starts getting worn down, and I don't know that he's ready right now. So that's all health. I actually really like it as a 4-man depth chart of running backs. I think it stacks up really well against the rest of the league. They're just not at 100% health right now, and I don't know how long it's going to take before they are, or if that ever happens.
Health isn't a concern for you, Dylan. You're the same.
I'm the same, just because of there was enough good and bad that they almost washed each other out in that first game. So I'm kind of waiting for the second game to see if it's similar, like in the Deneric Prince situation, like you said. If we see again that it kind of looks the same, then I'll probably drop it as well.
All right. So fairly confident, Dylan and I. Briscoe back to like a 6.
Yeah.
So let's go wide receiver. Wide receiver, this was probably the one of the 2 areas that I was most concerned with. I had wide receiver as a 4.
So did I.
Really? Dylan?
5.
5?
All right.
So 4, and a 5. Shocking after the Kadarius Toney injury, that I've actually moved it up to a 7 somehow.
Same.
Really?
7?
Yep.
So 5 up to a 7. Josh?
This one I've changed 5 times.
Oh, I am fascinated to hear this.
I have stopped it from going from a 4 to a 5.
Okay.
I'm at a +1 right now. Here's the thing.
Okay.
If Kadarius
I'm
Toney,
just way more. Maybe I'm getting out over my skis. I don't know. I love Richie James, but anyway, go ahead.
we've talked about Bobby Scipio like 4 sports or leisures in a row now, so he's really deep in my head. I would have been, if Kadarius Toney would have been healthy through an entire training camp, I think this is an 8 for me. If he's healthy and looks like a part of the offense, because you did see big steps, you saw promising steps from brand new guys, and I think Sky Moore is on the Sky Moore track that I more or less expected, so it doesn't really move my confidence level much. He and his role has grown in my mind. I think that the Justin Ross stuff is great. I think Rashee Rice being involved early is great. I think Richie James looks like a real part of the offense. But those are little weights on one end of the scale, where the big weight on the other end of the scale is that I love Kadarius Toney, and all of that offseason talk of him being wide receiver 1 right now is completely forgotten, and I think fairly. So I think it's still a net +1, but losing Kadarius Toney before camp even begun was the biggest gut punch that unit could have had.
I am shocked that I'm sitting here on this Friday the 18th after thinking about what that Monday was when Tony was going to miss some time, especially when we heard Travis Kelce say, when he sort of let everybody know it was going to be a while. I'm shocked that I'm sitting here with a 7, but that's because I have seen Sky Moore look like he's taking that next step. The expected level of MVS is still there. Rashee Rice looks better in camp than I thought he would early on. And the tongue-in-cheek jokes that I've had about Justin Ross for over a year now look like there's more legitimacy to what he can be, and we don't even have to get into the whole Richie James thing. And Justin Watson's incredibly reliable. Just ask Patrick Mahomes. So I've gone from, I don't know if Sky Moore is going to take a step forward.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rashee Rice is going to have the rookie issues that rookie wide receivers have with Andy Reid. I don't know what Kadarius Toney is going to look like, because this was even before the Kadarius Toney injury. I don't believe that Justin Ross is going to make that big of an impact. I think he might be a fine player. Does he even make the squad? I think Richie James is incredibly underrated. So I went from a 4 up to a 7 because of all of those things. And if Kadarius Toney was healthy, I might be a little bit higher. Yep. I don't think I'd be that. I don't think I'd be like a 9 or a 10. I might be like an 8.
I would be at an 8 with Kadarius Toney, and I'd be pushing for a 9.
Yeah, because I think Kadarius Toney is going to play at some point, so he's not lost for the season. So
a good reminder.
He's going to play at some point. We think that's certainly the plan there. But you're like me, Dylan. You went up to a 7.
Yeah, I'm in the similar breath. I think Sky Moore has a chance to be a Julian Edelman type of receiver, and I'm with Briscoe in the sense that I'm kind of confident that he's getting to that point. And again, Andy Reid offense, wide receiver, I'm looking for him to have a good year, second year, and then the rest of it can piece together with MVS and get, hopefully 2,000 plus yards out of our receiving core.
Okay.
We never talk about MVS. It's just funny. All of this panic, and we just, oh, no, he's there. We know he's outside.
Right. He's like, he's a lesser, more consistent version, or a lesser expected level of like a Joe Thuney. We don't talk about Joe Thuney as left guard. Why? Well, we don't have to. We don't talk about MVS. Yeah, because there's not a question about what you think MVS can be.
Yep.
You know what MVS is. How do you build around him? There's question marks, all of that. Tight end. I went from a 9 down to an 8.
That's what I did too.
In tight end, 9 to 8.
-1 for Jody Fort season. 4 and 1 point out for Jody Fortson. Because I really think he's got a role.
Dylan?
I actually went up from an 8 to a 9. I think Noah Gray, I'm really excited to see Noah Gray this season.
All right, 8 to a 9. How about that? Losing Jody Fortson.
How dare you?
I believe Josh is not going to fight you.
I'm hoping, is he coming back potentially? I did not see.
Full IR.
Full IR.
You were out of the country.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's fair. You were in Ireland.
Maybe I'll leave it at an 8.
There we go.
Yes.
Hey, Dylan, here's some news that you missed. Jody Fortson got put on IR during training camp, and then I cried for an hour.
Yep, that's what happened. Also, Bobby Witt turns into a superstar while you were in Ireland.
He's so good now, dude.
You should check out this Bobby Witt guy.
He is so good.
You should go buy a number 7 jersey. That's
Dylan,
what I would do.
Are you sitting down? I went to a baseball game while you were in Ireland.
I did see that.
That also was a real thing that happened.
It's a real thing that happened.
We should have given you like 10 things. What happened, what was real, and what wasn't real. And Josh went to a baseball game. False.
That was the lie.
False. That was a lie. All right, let's get into the offensive line, and then we'll take a break. Interior offensive line, 10-10.
I'm overreacting, Jason.
10 to 12?
I went 10 to 8. It's a total overreaction.
Whoa.
It's so unnecessary. I don't really mean it. Can I make it a 9 before you put it into the documentation?
I will erase it. I did write it in pen, but I erased it.
I'm making it a 9 just because because now I know that you're writing this down for posterity.
Yeah.
It's a total overreaction to I'm thinking too much about the interior offensive line and short yardage running situations from the last 24 hours of this radio show, and it's just wormed in there a little bit. It's just a tiny little thing to keep an eye on. It still was probably the best interior offensive line in football.
10-10. Dylan?
Yep, 10-10.
10-10. All right, tackle.
I want to know yours here because I think you might have started the lowest.
Tackle, I had it as a 4.
So did I.
Dylan, what'd you have tackle at?
I had tackled a 5.
At a 5, okay. So
Reasonable, I think.
4, 5. I moved it up to a 6.
I'm at a 7.
Oh, how about that?
How about
Look
that?
At you.
I've got a logic too.
Okay. 7. Dylan, what'd you move it up to?
7 as well.
7.
Let's
so
go.
4 to a 6, 4 to a 7, 5 to a 7 as the tackle. We'll talk about why next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever.
the defensive camp confidence, Joel,
Nailed it. That's perfect.
in the noon hour. Let's wrap up the offensive line. We went offensive tackle. I went from a 4 before camp to a 6 after camp. Josh, you went from a 4 before camp to a 7.
Yeah.
And Dylan, you went from a 5 to a 7.
Correct.
I'm more confident in the tackles. I was one of the biggest skeptics of Donovan Smith and almost downright dismissing his signing as nice backup. Juwan Taylor's your starting left tackle. That's what they signed him for, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a big believer in what Donovan Smith has left. So far in camp, he has not been a conversation. Even the Jets in training camp's offensive line has been a big topic because of how bad it's been.
Yep.
Chiefs offensive line, haven't really talked about him. We talked about him on the 4th and 1 with Blake Bell, but that was the interior offensive line, which I have no concerns with whatsoever. I think the next time there's a quarterback sneak, I think Creed Humphrey will be a torpedo. I think he will be low. I think he will make sure that doesn't happen again. He's too good of a center to have that happen where he just gets actually pushed back into the guy trying to do the quarterback sneak. I'm more confident in Donovan Smith. That was my big issue, was Donovan Smith. I liked what I saw, and I've liked what I've seen from live reps in 11-on-11, 9-on-7 drills with Donovan Smith.
I'm adding 2 points for feeling good about Donovan Smith.
Okay.
Juwan Taylor hasn't done anything to move the needle for me, so I'm adding in a point because Wanya Morris being the guy in the swing tackle spot on both sides, looking good in camp, that feels like an answer to me, even if it's the answer to who's the swing tackle. So that's why I'm up at a 7 now.
Okay.
I agree. I think Donovan Smith also, if we can scheme Orlando Brown Jr. into being an okay, serviceable tackle, I think we can do it with a guy who actually has played left tackle his whole career.
Yeah, I moved it up a couple of spots. I moved it up one spot for Donovan Smith and one spot for Wanya Morris. That seems to be some confidence in him developing into a swing tackle. I think they're fine with Lucas Niang. Prince Tega Winogo, we'll see if he's on the team or not, but more confident there. Always confident in Matt Derrick next.
Hi, AJ Kahn here, K-A-H-N, introducing my business to you, Concepts, your new branding, apparel, and promotional specialist. At Concepts, we believe in building long-lasting relationships. That's why you get to talk to me directly. With communication being first and foremost, as well as a quick turnaround production time, we ensure your vision becomes a reality. No matter the size of your business or the complexity of your projects, I am here for you. Remember, if it's under the sun, Concepts can get it done. Contact Concepts today and let me take your branding to the next level.
Performance Food Service in Lee Summit is growing and looking for energetic, reliable, and hardworking individuals to join their warehouse and transportation teams. A leader in serving Kansas City, they are responsible for ensuring their customers get the products they order on time and in perfect condition. Drivers are home nightly, make up to $90,000 annually, and work a 4-day work week with most routes local within the Kansas City area. Benefits offered on day one. Go to pfgc.com/careers. Search Lee Summit Mo for more information on their job postings at Performance Food Service. If you are driven...
time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we're just sitting here waiting for Matt Derrick.
Don't do that to him.
Just joking. Just joking. I
Matt,
think
if
he's
you're
on
still in the
phone right
car,
now.
please don't drive.
He's
what?
on the phone right
Did
now.
he call in?
Matt, where are you at right now? Give me your GPS. I need your coordinates, latitude, longitude.
I am stepping out of the elevator.
Okay, stay on the phone. Stay on the phone. I want you to stay on the phone. So where are you at now?
Well, I'm done walking down the hallway.
You're
Josh
walking to the
pointing at me.
Which jersey are you next to? Beasler. You're passing the Beasler jersey?
You just passed the Beasler.
Okay,
Matt, you look
go
great.
straight.
What kind of echo is
Go straight.
going to get with me being in here in the studio?
You're fine. Find the nearest chair and go ahead and find it. Once you get in, okay, great. He is
Sitting
closed the door.
there should be some headphones in front of you.
Whenever you find the nearest chair, go ahead and sit down.
So now
So now I can hang up?
No, you can't yet. No. Oh, and he just hung up.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and Matt, we just lost
Can we
Matt
get-
Derrick,
can we
Chief
get Matt
Digest.
back?
Dylan, can we get Matt back, please? Can we call
Apparently,
Matt back?
There's
I'm
a
here.
dead. There he is, right
Whoa,
there.
this
Dylan,
connection's a lot better.
That was quick.
Good job,
That was
Dylan.
very fast.
You
that
should
was
stay there.
awesome,
Yes.
dude. That's so great. I thought maybe you were still driving.
The one thing I can rely upon is that when I'm being unprofessional and late, that you guys can cover for me and have my back.
Typically we do.
But today, just throw me under the bus.
Today it was fun, because I didn't know, like, maybe you were at a stoplight.
I
And you're
love
like,
it.
you know what? I want to talk with them, and damn it, Dylan, put me on the air. So I thought,
Could have been great because I would have loved to have kind of narrated my trip there because you're coming down Metcalf
Oh, they're all, nothing but lights.
and you get to 119th there where it then turns into Blue Parkway and everything.
That sounds reasonable. I don't know how
whatever
roads
it's
work.
called. It's
Yeah.
like- yeah. But if you turn left onto 119th, if you hit that light right, then the traffic that's coming down, whatever the road is, what's the road that goes by here?
I would have no way of knowing.
Yeah, but there's a road that goes there.
Sure, there's a road for
if
sure.
you get there, it becomes a top car moment.
Yeah, you're all of a sudden you are
Days of
jockeying for
Thunder moment
position.
here.
Yeah, if
Because
you're not
Days of-
rubbing, you're not racing.
Days of Thunder.
If you get through that light correctly and you get to the next light there, right there where Barnes and Noble is and that all that kind of thing, it's literally getting in front of that pace car. If you can get there in front of that light change, and so you can get that traffic.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Oh no! Got caught with the pace car.
I hit that light as it was red, but I went through it at a generous rate of speed. I'm sure it was completely legal. So I'm not admitting to anything here. I don't need to ask Mike to come get me or anything.
Yet.
But I did not get.
yet.
If I had gotten in front of that pace car,
Oh,
this bit would not be happening.
well, thank God the pace car was there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
that
look.
was the
glad there was a
difference
pace car.
because if I'd gotten in front of that pace car, I would have been
If
in
we
here.
don't beat that pace car, our race is over.
If there had been one more live read, if Lebo had one more workout to be talking about,
Lebo. Just one more rep, Lebo.
you're just talking about the butterfly effect here.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Do we have the clip from last week? Dylan can't find it. It's in the
I got
cuts.
it. I know. It's in
the cuts
There's
from last
several
Friday.
layers. Yeah, but that's not
Oh,
how
I
the
know
cut
where this is
folders work
going.
anymore.
Oh, what?
The cuts folders, I have a very successful archival system that I haven't explained to Dylan yet, so I got it.
So you go look for it, and then you'll play it, and you can walk on in here, Josh, when we're playing it, because this is very timely with what would just happen with you. Because last week, Garrick Dieter was late.
Yes, I was actually. If I had still been in the car, I was going to say I was in the Garrick Dieter Memorial parking space.
That's exactly right. Only he wasn't in the parking lot at that time
Clearly,
because of what was happening in the background.
there were some
Which-
shenanigans going on. there.
Little shenanigans going on there, which would have been great if you had not, if you had got caught by the pace car, but then also something else happening to where you would have had to still be driving. You'd be like, no, I'm in the totally in the parking lot right now. It's all good. I promise you, I'm just here and I'm enjoying in the parking lot. So apparently we can't find it. Even Josh's intricate.
Do you have the one of me
archival
saying
system.
poo poo?
Yeah, we've got a
you
lot
got
of
that.
we've
As
got a
long as
lot
you
of
got that,
we
you
got a
know.
lot of poops. You good? Oh, all right. Let's who's on the phone? Somebody's on the phone.
Oh dear.
Hey, Jason, it's me, Josh. I'm in the other room. We have that audio now if you want it.
Okay, great. Yeah,
All right, I'm going to hang up and listen. Thanks for the
thanks.
call.
Yep,
How about
absolutely.
all three of us just go to different parts of the building and get on the phone?
Here's last Thursday with Garrick Dieter, quote unquote, in the parking lot.
Where are you, Gary Dieter?
I'm in the parking lot.
Are you You
What parking lot, bud?
Stony Creek
He's
Inn?
the one person that couldn't figure out how to get in.
Right. Which parking lot?
Boys, I'm right outside. The vibe felt better in here than inside today. Seems like, obviously
Blinker.
Coach Reed runs
Blinker.
his camp. Like, he only cares about the guys there, so.
Nate Bucati.
What's up, Greg?
What's up, Nate?
It sounds like your blinkers on. It doesn't sound like you're in the parking lot.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Nate. It sounds like he's lying to us.
Boys, you guys got to relax. You guys got to relax.
Buddy, you got to relax.
I mean, buddy, just be honest with us. Where are you at? I called you this morning. You
I'm
didn't
in
pick
the
up.
parking lot, buddy.
You're not in the parking lot.
Just got a blinker on in the parking lot.
I can't figure out all these buttons in here.
That's great. Yes. So you were actually in studio with us at the time there. So thank you, Matt, for being.
And
able
I
to join
was
us
on my
today.
way to St. Joe at the time that Garrick Dieter was in the parking lot. So
There you go.
I remember listening to that
That's
and
awesome,
thinking to
yes.
myself, it's the exact same thing Nate said. He's like, he's not in the parking
That's
lot.
a blinker in the back.
I mean,
but
this
good on you using your blinker.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
drive
the
safely.
810 parking lot is complicated, but it's not like Disneyland that you got to make 30 left turns in or something.
Oh,
I can't get left. Big Ben, Parliament.
Do you think that Dieter? I was gonna call him Geeter. That's what his friends call him. Do you think he came in the E lot? Maybe that was the problem. You know, it's like getting in and out of Arrowhead. If we had a players lot for Sherman Dieter, that would have helped.
He came in gate 5.
So
Yeah.
he was in the parking lot, but his blinker was on, trying to get over, and there was cars in a
That's
line.
right.
He's like, I got to get over here so I can park there. He wasn't parked yet, but he was in the parking lot. He was just trying to get to a parking spot, but the blinker was to let the cars know, hey, I need to cut in here, man. I'm not trying to screw you guys over. I just need to cut in. Here's my blinker and being nice.
See, and Garrick will learn, the more and more you're on the radio, and if you're on the radio and in your car, you simply don't follow any laws.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
You don't
So
signal
true.
for turns like an amateur.
Nope. And you also learn that pretty much everything is content.
And
When
you
you're-
also
when you're
have
in
diplomatic immunity if you're on the radio in your car. Laws don't exist. It's like international waters.
And if you get pulled over while you're on the radio, well, that is also great content.
Yeah, because we will
Incredible.
continue to have the phone up and on, and we will listen in to said interaction of you getting pulled over. That's not our fault. That's your fault.
Exactly.
Yes. So, and everything in radio is content.
Well, this is Matt Derrick of
That's right.
LegalAdviceDigest.com. You can go ahead and
Matt's got this.
I have 0.5 confidence in me arriving on time.
But before camp, I had like a 10.
Here's the thing. We were at a 10 and him arriving on
Yeah.
time in camp.
Yeah.
He was setting the tone for everybody else.
That's true. That is very true.
Dave Tope was here drinking coffee in the
Yes.
other room. You would have been here at like 3:30 this morning.
Exactly.
Yes. Camp is over now for St. Joe. So you listened in to some of the confidence level that we had with the
I did.
offensive side. Any big disagreement or any sort of view yourself of a positional group one way or another that's changed or stayed the same or adjusted up or down?
I'm a much more harsh critic on a few things than you are.
Great.
To me, if you're going to be 10 of 10 on anything confidence-wise, I need it to be the 49ers quarterback room in the late 80s. I need 90s. I need it to be Joe Montana.
But I don't.
I need Steve Young.
But I didn't want it to be. We weren't comparing it like skill level to the rest of the league. It was just confidence in. I'm not worried about that group because I've got full confidence in that.
I'm still going to back it off to a 9.5. Like I said, I would
on
need
Mahomes. Matt
I would
Derrick
need
hates
Mahomes, Steve
Mahomes.
Young.
Well,
Matt Derrick.
Jason,
Steve
go ahead and rattle
Bono
off.
in the same room.
Does not like.
And even then, I'd
Patrick.
have to probably give Steve Bono like a 9.9.
Matt Derrick says Mahomes is overrated.
Now,
then-
Jason,
then-
go ahead and list off all the times the
Well-
Chiefs have won a Super Bowl without a backup quarterback having to play a snap in a big moment.
It's very
I
true.
guess Super Bowl 4, maybe. I'm not really sure how that went. I don't think so. Did Lynn Dawson not miss a chunk of that season? I'm on it.
I don't know. It seems like Mike Livingston might have done something that season.
Got to go back to my memory from when I
But
was
then,
yeah,
if you're
11.
gonna pull me under the bus with that one, or throw me under the bus, as the case may be,
No, we can
you know,
pull
We're
you
under
too.
here with you.
we can mix our metaphors.
We're going to be under the bus, but we're not going to leave you alone.
Let's just set aside for the moment that you guys have no confidence whatsoever in Travis Kelce.
Whoa!
I had the tight end room as a 9.
Yeah, I have it at a 9.5.
Wow, okay.
Well, see, only one quarterback plays.
And if, there was one room, that's Travis freaking Kelce, man.
Right, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But there's only one quarterback that plays. There's multiple tight ends, and Andy Reid wants to play 13. They wanted to maybe play some 14. So that's where the overall 9
no faith
comes in.
whatsoever in Matt Bushman.
No respect whatsoever for Jody Fortson. I mean, we can do this all day, Matt.
It's a great point, Matt. Why do you hate Jody
Matt
Fortson?
Livingston started 6 games and appeared in 9 games that year for the Chiefs.
Okay, I'm gonna really step into it now.
Oh no, don't you dare!
And say that Jackie
Leal started the game.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Jody Fortson's a fantastic
Matt.
I love Jody Fortson because he's a great dude. I feel so sick for him because that is just a travesty. But I'm not mistaken, am I? He is the guy who had 108 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns last year, right?
Josh is going to punch you in the face.
Stop it right now! What's Rashee Rice done? Would you care if he got hurt? He hasn't done anything yet. He has 0 yards for the Chiefs.
Good point. He has 108 fewer yards than Jody Fortson.
Well,
Justin Ross!
Give Rashee Rice a couple of games, he might get there.
Disrespecting.
Maybe one game.
I'm being half facetious here because I feel terrible for Jody because he's a great dude and everything.
Horrible.
But you might be overestimating.
I just think what they like about him, and there's no fullback, so they do want to. I mean, Andy Reid likes his tight ends, so 13 personnel, sometimes definitely 12. So looking at the keeping 4 tight ends with Jody Fortson, now he's injured, so are they only going to keep 3, which I would probably say yes. Maybe they say 4, 4, 4, no matter what, it's going to be 4. Then you're exchanging Jody Fortson for Matt Bushman. I don't know much about Matt Bushman, which is why I dropped it 1 spot from a 9 to an 8.
And that tight end spot is one of the most difficult decisions to make when really looking at the 53 right now, because you look at your eyes and you look at how Matt Bushman has performed in training camp. And you factor in last year, and I see an NFL tight end. I talked to Tom Melvin. Tom Melvin sees an NFL tight end. But then you look at the snaps and the reps in practice to tell you a story.
Yeah,
and they're telling you that there's a line there, that maybe Matt Bushman hasn't done enough to put himself in that conversation for the 53, that maybe he is a practice squad guy. Maybe that's where he starts, see what happens. It's really, really borderline. I mean, I think he's very different from Jody Fortson. Jody Fortson's pure athleticism, was still learning the position, but had the size, bulk, speed, things that you don't normally see in that spot, and was very unique. Matt Bushman, he's not the fastest guy in the world, not the biggest guy in the world, not the strongest guy in the world, but he knows the position in and out. He knows the playbook in and out. I mean, he's always in the right place. He has incredible hands. I mean, and when I was talking to Tom Melvin, he compared him, interestingly, to a guy he had in Philadelphia, in Brent Selleck.
Interesting, okay.
And if I hear Tom Melvin calling Matt Bushman and comparing him to Brent Selleck, I'm saying to myself, that's a quality tight end.
Well, here, let's square this circle then, because you've got the roster breakdown, rosterology that you put out since they are now leaving St. Joe. And you've got 3 tight ends without Matt Bushman on the roster.
I know. I'm saying
square that circle.
I can't square that circle now.
You just you signed up to be Matt Bushman's agent, and then you just cut him.
I know. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I do because the math comes down to make it difficult. And I'll tell you what, the only thing that's really keeping me off right now is that I need to see Matt Bushman getting snaps with the ones. If he gets some first half snaps, whether it's with Mahomes or if Gabbert comes in, or last year, remember, Henny didn't get any snaps in game 2.
Right.
It just went straight to Buechele.
Which I want to talk to about in a little bit.
But if Matt Bushman's getting some first half snaps, I will change that. But that's the problem, and I was tracking the work yesterday with the first team, and it's just not getting any work. So there's something there.
Well, let me ask you this then: if Jody Fortson was not on injured reserve, would you have 4 tight ends or only 3 still?
What I would probably do in that scenario is what I did in the first rosterology, which was have Jody Fortson on it, but releasing Blake Bell,
and then
re-signing Blake Bell once you get everything kind of figured out.
And maybe they do that with Matt Bushman if they don't think that Matt Bushman's going to clear waivers.
It could very well happen that way. I mean, it could be that I think they have a couple of guys that fit in that category, but right now Blake Bell's the one guy that I think is going to definitely make the 53. That's got that friendly contract that allows you to. And then you got a guy like Nick Jones that I think is probably going to start the season on IR. That's your first guy. If you need to release somebody to put Nick Jones on IR first, might be Blake Bell.
Well, also, I mean, you can keep an extra player on defense because Omenihu does not count against your 53.
Right.
So you really have 2 extra spots come cut down day to get to 53 because of Blake Bell and because of Omenihu. The two spots that you wouldn't have if Omenihu wasn't suspended and Blake Bell did not have that contract to where you can cut him and then re-sign him.
You might be spending both those spots at wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're keeping 7 receivers, those 2 spots are essentially gone.
Yeah, that's where the whole breakdown comes in, because one of the questions I had before I read the rosterology this morning, which you dropped this morning, go to Chiefs Digest and check that out and see all the different things and the write-up on all the different positions as to why you came to those conclusions. It's not just throwing it there and saying, well, this is what I think.
I did throw it there with the specialist. I didn't break that down.
But you've got a breakdown as to the why. All right.
There's no competition. These guys made the team. Congratulations.
Did they not bring in any extra punters or kickers this year?
No.
They always do that, right? There's always an Elliott Fry or something, isn't there?
And unless they did it when I wasn't watching, they didn't even do the period where they set down, the specialist and let the backups come in. So you get a wide receiver out there holding for Justin Reed, and
you don't need to do that. There was
no
issue with that last year.
But you don't have Marcus Kemp to hold anymore, man.
Great point.
Wow,
it's a great point.
You don't have a holder.
Why do you even do it?
I don't know who the backup holder is now.
Yes. So this is, as you had the breakdown, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, okay, so if Jody Fortson's out, is this a team that, because of Andy Reid's love of tight ends, is this a team that they were going to keep 4 tight ends with Jody Fortson, or they were going to keep 4 tight ends, whoever the 4 were, because they want 4 tight ends on this team because of no fullback? That's a different philosophy there with this team and roster construction, because if they're keeping 4 no matter what because of no fullback, then Bushman's on the team. If they were keeping 4 because it was Kelsey, Gray, Bell, and Fortson, well, then Bushman has to then prove that he's worthy of a roster spot. How do you think they view this when it was sort of just assumed 4 tight ends were going to make this squad?
And I don't think that Brett Veach ever assumed that 4 tight ends were going to make the squad.
I did.
I mean, I'm not 100% convinced that they were convinced of that.
Yeah. They might not have been, but I was in my rosterology. I'd have always had 4 tight ends.
I mean, with the 4 that they had with Fortson healthy, made a lot of sense, especially because it's not even just the tight end usage. Now, remember, you have one of those guys as a fullback that's going to be probably filling that role in a handful of plays. So the question is going to be, how many do you have active on game day? Are you going to have 4 tight ends active on game day? Probably not very often, if ever. I mean, it might be just because that somebody is injured and you got a question. Maybe Travis has a sore knee or something, so you want to have a backup just in case. Maybe that's a week that you think you are going to run a lot of 13 personnel because you think you have a schematic advantage, so maybe you want that extra body.
Yeah,
but probably not often. So then that comes into question. If you have a Jody Fortson, how many times is he going to be active versus how many times you're going to have a Matt Bushman active? That's how kind of Brett Veach is approaching it. If it's going to be a situation where you feel like, hey, we're going to have Jody Fortson or Blake Bell active 75% of the time, then you're probably keeping a 4th tight end.
Yeah.
If it's, you got Matt Bushman now and you're thinking, well, we might only have him active 30% of the time or less, well, then maybe it's let's see what you can do with the practice squad elevations for a while. And, if you get any injuries, you can always bring him up. I think that becomes a little bit more part of the equation because, when I got my conversation with Brett last week, that was one of the first things he went to when talking about these extra spots and whether you keep 3 quarterbacks or 4 running backs and 7 receivers and, a 5th safety, a 6th corner. All of those questions were who's going to be active on game day. That's the ultimate question. And they've considered that, the coaches and the personnel people consider that a lot more than those of us out there, because I think we all think of it as just one game and who's going to play in that one game, and we don't really think about who's going to be active on game day or not.
Yeah.
But that's their equation is really a big part of it is how often is this person going to play? How important is it really to have that spot?
And typically, like when they keep 4 running backs, they only activate 3.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look at the game logs, but I don't know, like the game books, I don't know the last time they had 4 running backs active. They'll keep 4. It was always 4 with a fullback.
Yep.
So technically they had 4 out of 5 running backs active. But if we're just talking about halfback, they would have 4, on the roster, 3 of them active. 1 that was inactive on game day, but you would still have that guy on the 53 just in case. So even if they keep the 4 running backs this year, only 3 of those guys are going to be active, which then gets into a numbers crunch about running back, because I've considered Pacheco, McKinnon, Edwards-Helaire, and Prince, like those 4 guys, because they had been talking up Prince. But I found it interesting in your rosterology, you had just the 3 guys with Prince and Pirine clearing waivers and going to the practice squad. I would guess that at this point Prince would probably clear waivers, at least in how he's played so far.
I believe so.
But you go with the 3. Is that sort of the philosophy of we got those guys on practice squad, and we only activate 3 guys anyway. So if we need to activate somebody in a week when somebody gets hurt and we need 3 guys up, we can go down and get a Prince or a Perine that's there.
Well, and that's one of the, another thing that you have to think about, and I didn't get into this in the rosterology, but I'll bring it up now, is that when you're thinking about guys on the practice squad, if you're Brett Veach, you're also thinking about a scouts team and, how many players you're going to have so that you can have an effective scout team. And, like Chris Oladokun, I think, is pretty much guaranteed to make the squad because he's a really good scout team quarterback.
The practice squad, right?
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's about to make the practice squad because he's a really good scout team quarterback. But I mean, it's entirely. I could see all 3 of those guys because running backs are. Let's face it. In this league, they're a dime a dozen these days. Every team overvalues their own, so I don't think that there's with those 3 guys in particular, and I'm including Jerry and Ely in this conversation. I think all 3 of those guys are going to clear waivers. You can get all 3 of those guys, and Ely can play receiver too. So if you need him as a scout team receiver, that can cover one of those spots. Great. But now if you have 3 of those running backs, well, that's 6 free practice squad elevations if you needed a 4th running back some week.
True.
And if one guy's going to be down for a while, you can always sign him up and elevate them to the regular roster. So to me, having 3 running backs it's less than ideal, but I don't think it's a deal breaker, and especially if it means that you get to keep a Justin Ross or you have to keep an extra defensive lineman because you're worried about Chris Jones and what his workload's going to be.
Or you can keep 9 offensive linemen instead of 8, or maybe 10 instead of 9.
Exactly.
Depending on where you go. Refresh my memory. How many activations, practice squad activations, can you have in a year for one player?
Each player can get 2 free ones. The third one, they have to stay or get released afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, I had another practice squad question, a different one, but in the same vein of when you can only take a guy off another team's practice squad if you sign them to your active roster,
Correct.
right? But if that offer comes, it's not an automatic thing, right? Like where they could, if Deneric Prince makes the Chiefs practice squad and in week 4 the Panthers want to sign him to their active roster, they could come to the Chiefs and say, hey, the Panthers are offering this contract to the active roster. Can you bring Prince to the active roster along? That's a negotiation thing that can happen, right?
Right of first refusal to activate him.
It can. I don't know if there's actually a guaranteed right of refusal, but it would be considered really poor form, I know, for a player to just sign and not give the team an opportunity.
Because that was the Buechele situation early last year.
Happened with Buechele, happened with Najee Johnson.
Yeah, you can protect players on the practice squad.
That happened with Najee Johnson?
Yeah, a team came for Najee Johnson.
Okay.
That was when he got promoted last year.
Okay, I had forgot about that.
And the Chiefs were just planning to stash him until, he had some injuries, and then he had to play, and it turned out he was one of their best special teamers.
And it was good, and it would have been great for this year if he didn't get injured there as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. The Buechele conversation. I want to have that on the other side of the break as they head to Arizona, preseason game number 2, looking back to what they did a year ago in preseason game number 2, how they, used their quarterbacks, how Andy Reid deployed those guys. Will it be the same thing? Will it be different? Because if it's a new backup quarterback and what we may want to see from that particular position, we'll talk about that along with going in and coming out of camp with Matt Derrick and some things that he has seen, optimism, maybe some less optimistic on some other things.
Maybe the only person in Chiefs media who left St. Joe looking more alive and more vital just because of the fact that you're just like chugging water and growing a great beard.
Oh, no, I was completely broken by camp, so...
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If you go and check that out, you can see the rosterology for Matt Derrick. Also, same sod story.
I was really proud of that headline.
I was proud of you.
The sod conversation for the game tomorrow. We'll see. Andy Reid feels a little more confident about that. Just as long as Eddie Mangan is not in charge of whatever's going on in Arizona right now, I think we might be good with that.
I just am stunned that we think it's hard to grow grass in Arizona indoors. I mean,
probably go check out Greenlight. I mean,
hello everybody.
No issue doing that.
Why are the Cardinals so cheap that they don't have their own practice facility and they practice in the freaking stadium?
Right?
That's weird. That one is odd.
See, I think it's actually going to help. I think the field's going to be better and have better grip, as Andy was saying,
Andy
because
thinks,
it's not going to be wax and spray painted and then slippery like it's an ice rink, like it was in the Super Bowl.
It should mostly be dirt. So.
Yes, which it should mostly be fine.
Not moldy paint and grass. So, yes.
Yes. All right, I want to talk to you about the quarterbacks. So, a year ago, you mentioned it, that game number 2, preseason game number 2, Patrick Mahomes had 2 starts, or two drives. The starters stayed in for the first half, and Shane Buechele came in. And then it was Oladokun that came in, and no Chad Henne. Is that because it's Chad Henne? They knew what they had in him. They didn't need to see any more. They didn't have to see him out with the first team. They didn't have to have him go through the playbook. Also, they wanted to see what they had in Shane Buechele with the starters. Or is that something to where they may just do with their backup quarterbacks, like a Blaine Gabbert, to see what they have in Shane Buechele? I would argue I'd like to see it the same as last year, because I have a pretty decent idea what Blaine Gabbert can be. And I know the emergency quarterback activated, not counting all of that stuff with the new rule. I know how that can impact the roster, but I just think when you got Patrick Mahomes, I don't need 3 quarterbacks on my roster, because if I get to my third-string quarterback, I'm effed anyway. So I need Patrick Mahomes and a backup that I'm confident in to a degree, and then fill that roster spot with something else somewhere, which is why I'd like to see Shane Buechele with the ones, because then could they just go with Shane Buechele and move on from Blaine Gabbert, whether it's a cap hit or not.
It's crazy.
Whether it's a cap hit or not. Or,
not even in consideration.
Okay, then what's the love of Shane Buechele then? If they're not even considering Blaine Gabbert, then why are you holding a roster spot for Shane Buechele for 3 years in a row? At some point, either he's your backup or you just walk.
I think there's 2 things. I mean, one, this is still probably a little bit of the develop and see what happens kind of a thing. You know, I mean, hey, if somebody came calling and was offering, a 6th-round pick or something for Shane Buechele, they might take it. I don't know.
Right, that's awesome.
But I also think that the Chiefs are firmly much more in the belief that they don't believe that they are the Peyton Manning Colts. I mean, they don't believe they're effed if Patrick Mahomes goes down. And if Blaine Gabbert goes down, I don't think that they believe they're effed either. I think they think that they could still win football games, get into the playoffs, and if you needed a third quarterback to play for a game or two to just keep you going, I think they'd rather make sure that they had Shane Buechele there to do that than any other option. So
that is a scenario that is really unlikely to then keep that roster spot from somebody else that actually would help your team out.
Who would help your team out?
I don't know. One of the offensive linemen.
Really?
Maybe. Yes, because if Joe Tooney goes down, or if you have 2 offensive line, let's say Creed and Tooney go down. Okay, well now you got Allegretti and maybe Kennard. Well, if you can't keep Kennard, then you got Allegretti and then whoever else.
Yeah.
Well, then you start to shuffle things around.
But none of those are free game day activations.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because you're not going to be able to have one of those guys available, that extra guy available on game day. He's just there.
Which is fine.
But is it because you're going to have 8 offensive linemen available on game day?
Mm-hmm.
So if you carry 9 or 10 offensive linemen, 2 are going to be inactive anyway. You're probably going to have 2 or 3 more on the practice squad.
Which ones are going to be on the practice squad? Which ones are going to make it? Caliendo? Cool.
Caliendo?
They can have them. Great. Caliendo.
Austin Ryder?
Great. I never want to see Caliendo in a game. All right, I've seen enough.
That's
of
who would be
Caliendo.
on the roster if you don't have Shane Buechele.
He wouldn't be on the roster if you can only keep 8 offensive linemen. If they keep 4 tight ends,
if they keep 8 offensive linemen, they're drunk.
I don't disagree. But if they keep 4 tight ends, who are you taking off the roster then? Because if they keep 4 tight ends, is it now 6 wide receivers, or is it only 2 running backs?
So Matt Bushman's more likely to win you a game than Shane Buechele.
Yes.
Jody Fortson does 108 yards and 2 touchdowns is more because there's nobody else who could have thrown caught those passes.
I'm gonna look
those
through
108 yards.
I know. I'm gonna look
that
through
that game-winning touchdown that your 4th string tight end had.
I have such an intellectually dishonest argument, which is I bet the Niners wish they would have had all the quarterbacks they could have gotten.
Well, that's why they have the new rule
right,
now.
I know.
Let me look.
That's me being a little.
Let me look. I'm pulling up the Pro Football Reference of Shane Buechele, and I'm looking through all the regular season games he's played.
Oh yeah, there's 0.
Oh, so Jody Fortson then is more likely to win you a game since he's actually played in a game.
Did he actually win a game, though?
He's more likely to help you win a game.
Is he?
Because he's actually played. Oh, that pass down the sideline when he caught it and got down inside the goal line, that was pretty damn good for him to catch it. I bet that helped him win a game.
Game-winning play.
It wasn't, but it's helping win a game.
But
help you win a game. You know what Shane Buechele was doing while Mahomes was throwing that pass to Jody Fortson? Holding a clipboard with an earpiece in his ear, grabbing some Gatorade.
But we're not talking about what's happened in the past. We're talking about what can happen in the future.
Okay, that's fine. Sometimes the past is an indicator of what the future is, and the past has said that Shane Buechele has never taken a snap in the NFL. So if he's never taken a snap in the NFL, I don't even know what he would look like in an actual NFL game. So can he help you win a game? I actually don't know. Can he lose you a game if he's out there? I actually don't know. I know Chad Henne can do that because I've seen it. I know Matt Moore can do that because I've seen it. I don't know that Blaine Gabbert can do that. Probably. I've seen him win some games. I've never seen Shane Buechele take a snap. I've seen Jody Fortson catch touchdowns.
This isn't actually about Shane Buechele, though, right? This is actually an argument about a third quarterback.
Yes.
Because I think it being Shane Buechele at this point is sort of analogous. It's sort of.
Yes, it's not necessarily Shane
auxiliary to the conversation.
I'll admit something. I have never seen an NFL game that I can recall where all 3 of a team's tight ends went down, and they had to have the 4th tight end go out there and just run every single tight end route to win a game for them. But you know what? In one of the last 3 NFL games that counted,
you should totally use the one.
NFL team needed their 3rd quarterback.
Yeah,
didn't have him.
You know, it's weird. Also, one of the last 3 games we watched, an offensive team lost almost all of their skill position players, and we were talking about, oh my goodness, Noah Gray and Kelsey and Fortson were the only ones that were out there, and all these wide receivers.
And they won that game because they had a quarterback throwing them the football. And
they didn't have Buechele.
And not a third-string running back.
If Buechele was throwing the ball, they ain't beating the Bengals.
All right, well then let's go play a Super Bowl and let's see what happens.
Beating the
your
Bengals.
Top 2 quarterbacks get knocked out.
Then they're losing the Super Bowl.
You're trying to win the game with Jerick McKinnon at quarterback.
They're losing the Super Bowl with Shane Buechele.
That's a loser mentality right there. That's a loser mentality.
No,
you're just giving up. You're giving up on your team.
It's not. It's a Patrick Mahomes
you just
or
said
bust
your team
mentality.
Is losing.
It's a Patrick Mahomes. Yes, if Shane Buechele has to play quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Believe that.
Can I ask another question that might just make this worse? Should they carry 2 quarterbacks?
This team also believed Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a first-round draft pick.
I don't know why.
So
according to Jason, they only need 1 quarterback.
Like what? Is it 2 quarterbacks is reasonable and 3 is? I just want to make sure to identify because
according to Jason's philosophy, only one quarterback is needed.
You can see Mahomes go down for like a series.
That's not true at all. I said
that's what you're
saying,
though.
No, I'm not.
No, you're saying
if you get to somebody.
No, because you said if somebody has Mahomes, they're hosed.
No, for a season, yes. In a game, I need a backup. But you're saying if the 3rd string guy comes in the Super Bowl, it's going to help you win. If the 3rd string guy is in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are losing. Because if Mahomes is out in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are losing. The Super Bowl specifically. But in a regular season game.
They're definitely guaranteed to lose if Jerick McKinnon is your backup quarterback.
Now, hold on. Unfortunately, Matt, you've chosen one player who I don't think is going to sway Jason.
No.
I think Jason would like to see Jerick McKinnon be the 3rd quarterback.
That's no knockdown against Jerick McKinnon.
I feel like you're clowning Jerick McKinnon's quarterback skills.
Your 4th-string tight end's not going to be catching anything from Jerick McKinnon.
And he's not going to be catching anything from Shane Buechele.
Oh, sure he is. Shane Buechele's been good.
Then keep him over Gabbert.
But Gabbert's a veteran, good quarterback.
Fine.
You're building a team
redundant.
That's terrible.
I'm giving you I'm giving you a closer on a team that wins 30 games. I don't give a bleep if Joakim Soria can close a game for a team that's going to lose 110. It's immaterial. It doesn't matter.
You are
the third string quarterback.
The
doesn't
Chiefs
matter.
only had 3 tight ends in the
Chiefs have Mahomes.
Right?
The third string quarterback when they had Brody Croyle and Damon Heward probably mattered.
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I think it probably didn't matter because who cares?
Yeah,
there's
multiple ways of viewing that.
Yeah,
there's a
very
great
little at stake.
reason. Here's a great reason why you would be a terrible GM.
Because I wouldn't keep a third quarterback?
Exactly.
When I have Patrick Mahomes?
Exactly. Because I'm looking at your quarterback room now.
Yeah, and you're seeing Patrick Mahomes and you're seeing Blaine Gabbert. You saw Patrick Mahomes and Chad Henne.
Mahomes, I'm seeing Blaine Gabbert, and I'm not seeing anybody else in there. So those two guys, because you're not going to have any practice squad quarterbacks probably, apparently, that are any good because Shane Buechele won't be there.
Because here's the thing.
Shane Buechele won't be there.
I'll tell you what, if you lose Shane Buechele, there's nobody in the world you could possibly find out anywhere that can give you what Shane Buechele gives you. But you're loving Matt Bushman, though. You and others are talking about how great Matt Bushman is. Apparently, there's no other Matt Bushman in the world that you can get because you got to have him on this roster too.
You want to have
but
a top
Shane
10,
Buechele is just amazing and can't be touched.
You want to have a top 10 defense, right?
I would like a top 10 everything.
Okay. How's your defense going to be top 10 if they don't have a quality scout team quarterback that's working with them?
Oh my God.
How's Patrick Mahomes going to be
They're going to be
ready?
top 10 because
Patrick Mahomes going to be getting ready every week if he doesn't have like 3 or 4 guys in the room helping him watch film?
So now Oladokin is more important than
Blaine
Shane Buechele.
Gabbert's important because Blaine Gabbert's been around. He's worked with Tom Brady.
Well, cool. Then I
Why
think
would you
Blaine
want to get rid
Gabbert
of
can
him?
give you a scout team. I think Blaine Gabbert can give you a scout. I don't need Oladokin and Shane Buechele. If that's what we're talking about, is you're keeping a spot on the roster instead of an extra offensive lineman or a defensive lineman or a cornerback or a wide receiver or tight end, so that during scout team the guy can run some plays, I would say that's a terrible GM move.
I think you are building a team that if Patrick Mahomes goes down, will go 2-15.
No, they won't
go
go 2-15.
Yeah, they will. You're okay with that.
Great, then do it.
Because that's what you're saying.
I would love that.
Your team is terrible.
If Patrick Mahomes got injured and we lost him for the season, then go 2-15 and get the number 1 pick. You ain't winning the Super Bowl anyway, so you might as well go ahead and get the number 1 pick. And then you can
draft Caleb Williams and get a long-term backup.
Then you trade one of the last years of Travis Kelce and just throw it away.
You're not throwing it away. You lost Mahomes.
Sure
okay, so can the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Mahomes this year?
Sure.
Oh, my God.
If you don't believe that,
oh my God,
then you don't believe in your team.
They haven't won a Super Bowl in 50 years without Patrick Mahomes.
But they won one without Patrick Mahomes. A lot of teams have won one with Patrick. He's only won 2. 55 guys have won a Super Bowl.
Andy Reid has gotten to Super Bowls with Donovan. Got to Super Bowls without
This
Donovan
is me
McNabb.
pounding my head against a wall.
Is Blaine Gabbert Donovan McNabb? Maybe.
I just don't know why you hate your team so much.
You know
that
they're
you
not
feel
winning
like
a Super Bowl without Mahomes.
I don't know that.
You know that.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
They're winning the Super Bowl with Blaine Gabbert or Shane Buechele.
They could. They have a better chance of doing that than with Jerick McKinnon.
Breaking news, guys.
They have the same chance of winning a Super Bowl with Jerick McKinnon playing quarterback all year as they do with Shane Buechele. They have the same chance.
No.
And it's 0.
Not 0. It is non-zero.
It is. It's negative 1%. It's a 0 with a win chill of -5.
If they had a 0.1%,
that's a win. WIN chill.
If they had a 0.1% chance of winning the Super Bowl with Jerick McKinnon at quarterback, which I think is
no, they don't have a 0.1%. They have
a pretty
0.
good. That's a pretty good chance.
They have a 0%.
I'd say if they had even a 1% chance of winning the Super Bowl with Shane Buechele playing the quarterback, which I think actually is fairly reasonable, that's at least 10 times better chance.
No, it's the same.
Like what? I guess what if Shane Buechele?
It's the same.
Well,
because
hold on.
1% and 0.1%.
No, Matt just made a point that wanted me to come back in this conversation again, which is that Brock Purdy was QB3, and if you thought that Brock Purdy gave the Niners a chance through the playoffs. That
but he couldn't win a Super Bowl.
Certainly no one wants to be in that position. But as like a developmental quarterback, now the Niners needed more guys to develop because they couldn't figure out the first one still. But there's, if Trey Lance is Patrick Mahomes, I got it all fell apart already. Never mind.
I'm saying this is not, like I said, this is not Peyton Manning's Colts. This isn't where you take one guy off the team and suddenly it falls apart. This is a good team. So why waste your opportunity to win a Super Bowl by just giving up if something happens to your top 2 guys in a game?
Yeah,
and in favor of keeping a guy who might not even be active every single game.
Dylan, do you think the Chiefs have talked this much about Matt Bushman versus Shane Buechele?
God, I hope they have. If they haven't, then they need to start because their job is to do that.
Andy Reid and Brett Veach have these conversations every single night of camp.
That makes sense.
They get together with the coaches and they go through and they do their rosterology literally every single night.
Do they really?
Yes.
Oh, that seems like a lot of work.
They get together and they're like, hey,
they probably don't have to start at the top every time.
They're every day they are going through and saying, okay, where's the 53 right
stock
now?
Up, stock
okay,
down.
Quarterback number 15. Is he on this roster?
They
or
probably
not?
autofill.
There's a good reason why they do, because come August 29th, you don't want to have this. You can't have this argument and this discussion in one day.
You know where you stand.
You've had it every single day. So we get this out of our system now, Jason, and come August 29th, we know that you don't believe in the team, and I do.
I don't believe the Chiefs can win the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact. I will be perfectly fine going out and dying on that hill.
I think this team could win
because
without him.
The history of the Chiefs tells you.
Are they more likely to win with Patrick Mahomes? Yes. And I would also, there's only one more point I want to make about the straw man thing who we're building here.
Are we building a straw man?
Is that I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Building a Bushman.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here with giving you Jody Fortson and giving you a fourth tight end. That's not the 53rd guy on the roster that would be on there if you dropped.
Well, let's talk about the seventh wide receiver then.
Let's talk about it.
The seventh wide receiver.
No.
What's better?
I've got 7 receivers on there.
Who's better to win? Who's a better chance to win?
You take one of the guys that I'm releasing, and you put him on the roster instead of Shane Bouchel.
I got to go through your roster.
Danny Shelton, checkmate. I just love Danny Shelton.
I knew that's where you would go.
I just love it. I want that to happen.
Because once again, you can have Danny Shelton on the roster and not active because he's the 53rd guy, and but he's been on the practice squad, and he's going to be on the practice squad. So I'm going to sign him to the practice squad. Check. Next.
I love it. Oh, yeah, that's true. We can just play okay, cool. I just want Danny Shelton. Do you think he will be on the practice squad?
He was last year.
Cool.
So
okay, I'm done. I just like Danny Shelton.
I mean, yeah.
This isn't my game. Echo Boydo, Khalifa Lacey,
Lucas Niang.
Practice squad guys, probably right?
Yeah.
Certainly targets.
So why do you need him on the 53 if they're going to be in the practice
Lucas
squad?
Niang, because you can only bring him up a couple of times.
You can sign him after that, though, I guess, right?
Sure, but if he's good enough to come up on the Chiefs roster, because apparently this roster is good enough to win a Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes.
For a couple of snaps or a couple of drives, yeah, sure.
Well, now we're not talking about a couple of drives.
But that's exactly what we're talking about.
No, we're not.
But that's where the backup have
we're
come in
talking
for
about
the
because the reason why
a couple of drives is the backup quarterback.
We're talking about the reason why you pick up the third
49ers didn't need a couple of drives. They needed a 3 quarters. It wasn't a couple of drives.
If they had Brock Purdy for 3 quarters, it might have worked.
Matt Moore was quarterback 3, but that was so early in preseason. I don't know if that really
They probably
counts.
wouldn't have that day because the Eagles were too good that day.
Yeah, they weren't.
But I tell you what, Shane Bouchel were on the 49ers that day.
They still would have lost.
They would have won the Super Bowl.
They still would have lost. They still would have lost, though, right?
A lot better.
But would they have
lost?
lost?
Chance.
Would they have lost?
They would have had a better.
We can't definitively say what the result of the fake game would have been.
They
Guys,
would
come
have
on.
had an infinitely better chance than if the 70th guy was on the 53.
I mean, I've got a chance that if I just start working out right now, I can eventually dunk on an 11-foot goal. I got a chance, but it's not happening, Matt.
No, it could happen.
It's not.
Well, no, not in your case because you're terrible. But
I'm going to mark that for later on today.
I'm not marking any of this. None of this is making the cuts.
None of this is making cuts. I know. By the way, I now know that I'm gonna check my mentions later in my texts and everything like that, and I'm going to get people who are saying, "Why do you guys scream and argue with each other? It's terrible."
Oh no, not at all. They're going to go.
I know you love this.
They're going to go. You know what, Jason? You are absolutely right.
Breaking news: Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Ravens.
I don't think they will because I think they believe in their team, and they know they just heard you say that this team can't win.
What about without Patrick Mahomes? Yes. What about Dunlap as your defensive lineman instead of I don't know Malik Herring?
Would he be the 53rd guy on the roster who'd be inactive every week?
Put Dunlap on there as 11 defensive linemen, then add Dunlap to the defensive lineman and take Michelle off.
So he'd be active every single week?
Dunlap would, yes.
Then he's not your 11th defensive lineman.
Well, right. Then it would be Malik Herring.
Because you're not going to have 11 defensive linemen active every week.
Right.
So? But I've got him on the point. But I've got him on the roster. No, I didn't prove your point. I've got him on the roster.
But
I've got a choice. I've got guys to choose between.
But
that
Shane
are going
Bouchel,
to play.
But Shane Bouchel is going to be.
Is not going to.
You can.
He's not going to take an active roster spot.
Here's the great thing about
on
it
game
too
day.
is that you're giving away a roster spot on game day.
I'm not giving on game day, but I'm giving away a roster spot on my actual team
to a guy who won't be active on game day.
I will take my chances with somebody on the actual team.
You're saying that you would rather have the 53rd guy on your roster who will not play on game day because he will be inactive.
Well, you don't know who's getting injured in the week before the week before that.
Rather than having arguably, let's say the 52nd guy. I'll give you this. This guy this imaginary guy that you're going to have.
Yes.
That's going to help you win.
Yes.
Is the 52nd guy in the roster.
Okay.
52nd guy.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be inactive every week unless
not necessarily him.
People in front of him are hurt or injured.
Oh, okay. So injuries can happen at the quarterback, but they can't happen at any other spot, Matt.
They can happen anywhere.
Well, no, they can't, because you don't need those guys. Because as long as you have Bichelle, you don't need other guys on your roster.
I was being generous to you in this argument.
Why would you need other guys? Why would you need guys in the tight end room? Why would you need other offensive linemen? Why would you need other defensive linemen? Injuries don't happen. If those guys get injured, it doesn't matter.
They do happen. So that's the reason why we're having this argument.
Oh, okay.
This gets muddier when you guys are both arguing your own hypotheticals and against your own hypotheticals. It really gets hard to follow.
Your guy is the 52nd guy in the roster.
And your guy is a guy that will
He's
never
probably
play.
He's probably going to play 3 games. He's going to play a limited number of snaps and a lot of special teams work, which I know how much you love special teams.
And if he's playing with Mahomes as the quarterback, he gives the team a better chance of actually winning the Super Bowl than Bichelle in the game.
Shane Bichelle will be, let's say he's the 53rd guy in the roster.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be a 48th player on game day every week that you only get by having a third quarterback on the active roster. He is a free active player on that day.
But he's taking up a roster spot on the team.
But he's taking up a roster spot from a guy who will be inactive and not play every single week. And could very well be on your practice squad that you could bring up anytime you want.
Could.
Yeah.
Could. But Matt Bushman won't. Because Matt Bushman is the second coming.
Well, you said that. I mean, I agree, but you just said that, so I agree. But
Matt Bushman and Shane Bichelle. If it starts with a Bush,
but I'd argue maybe
the Chiefs love him.
Matt Bushman might not be he might be the 51st guy in the active roster. He might be that good.
Well, as long as the Chiefs have their third string quarterback to help them not win a Super Bowl, thank God.
I just don't know why you would give away the opportunity to win games.
To win games. I'm not giving away the opportunity to win games. I'm making it more likely that they can win games by having different guys to choose from that actually have a chance to play. Shane Bichelle ain't playing. I'm looking through his Pro Football Reference. I have not seen a snap that he's ever taken in a game. He's been on the Chiefs for 2 years.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
Yeah.
Jody Fortson's been in and off of IR.
You should take a look.
Played.
You should take a look at how many snaps the 53rd guy on the roster plays.
Well, the 53rd guy can rotate.
It can.
It can rotate different times.
Exactly.
Right, it can rotate.
Shane Bichelle's not going to rotate. He's going to be the third quarterback every single game.
No, he is going to rotate. He's going to rotate from the bench to the sideline to watch the team, to then back to the bench, to then sideline to watch the offense, then back to the bench, then sideline to watch the offense, then back to the bench, then to off season, then to do the same thing. He's rotating a lot. He's just never doing it in a game.
He could.
I like the segment better when I was on the phone.
Here's once again the thing that you keep missing here.
What's that?
Is that your hypothetical 53rd guy on the roster is never going to play because he will never be active. My guy will be active every single week.
And is never going to play.
Doesn't cost you an active game day spot.
And is never going to play.
He's a free player.
But he costs you a game.
The rotating 53rd, whoever it is,
has a chance to play every single week, and your guy doesn't. He never has a chance to play because he's the 53rd guy on the roster.
Not necessarily that's always the same player, but whoever the 53rd guy on the roster is would never be active on account of being the 53rd guy. And then
neither will the 52nd
Bichelle,
or the 51st or the 50th or the 49th.
Right. I get the point.
And the 48th will only be active on game days if you have a third quarterback.
Right. It's the only way to use that spot for free activation. That makes sense.
So
I understand your point, Matt. I do think we've really gotten to the bottom of this. I think everyone's probably pretty happy. I think it was probably a good segment of radio. I do think we probably could have taken a break 10 or 15 minutes ago. But
Dylan,
hey guys, let's just take a break.
Oh,
take a break right
Jason?
now. Can we just take a break?
Jason, where did you go?
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
I couldn't do it anymore. We do need to go to break. Okay?
I love the fact that we've all been on the phone now.
Yeah, it's good.
I'll talk to you guys a little bit later.
This show usually phones it in, but this whole segment's been a new level.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's our Summer Lovin' event. And soak in the sunshine because your first maintenance is free. Well, sure, I'll tell you more. This summer, every vehicle comes with our lifetime powertrain warranty. So
I want to see McKinnon playing quarterback. That's what I want to see.
Well, you're not, because they got a lot of quarterbacks available.
Thank God, because Bushell can definitely win the game more than Oladokin.
4 quarterbacks available on game day in the regular season, I'd go for it.
Believe it or not, dear listeners, they talked about something else during the break.
What?
I know. We're back now.
No, we didn't.
Right
we
back in
only
it.
talk about this. Is just continued. I want to see Oladokin because I think Oladokin.
I want to see him too.
I think
like Chris.
Bushell can definitely win a Super Bowl way more than Oladokin can. Love you, Matt.
Might need them both one day. You never know.
Chiefs Digest. Go check out the rosterology. He's got
Stupid, but it's up there.
There's only like one paragraph about Shane Bushell,
which should be more.
Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park has the largest inventory of new 2023 Volvos in the Midwest. Rates as low as 4.99% for up to 72 months.
Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, Matt, hold on. Before you walk out the door, real quick, Matt, before you walk out.
Just call in, Matt. Just call in real quick.
I just want to read this text. This is great. 913-912-4810. We're going to talk with Josh Kaiser here, some Royals. But
Josh, it's been a weird day.
913-912 says, I've never heard such a passionate, irrelevant argument.
I completely agree.
I do too.
I completely agree too. I completely agree. That's great because when Jason and I argue, I mean,
it ends up being like totally irrelevant, like on the 1 or 2% scale
we
of
only
like.
believe about 90% of what we're saying.
Oh, I believe like at least 89%, 91%.
Yeah. Let's see.
92%, I believe 100%.
And we're not really mad at each other. I mean, we could completely hug it out right now if we needed to.
No.
Do you guys want to hug?
We're discussing.
I mean, I don't want to, but we could.
Yeah, we're discussing we're having a conversation about the third quarterback, or the 53rd, or the fourth tight end.
I just think this is a
great
day to celebrate Dylan's first day.
That is exactly right. Dylan, welcome into the show, buddy.
Another
text is.
Glad we break you.
We'll call this a soft launch.
Love you, Matt. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Text
now you see why Shane's in traffic.
I like the.
and Matt's about to go walk into traffic.
Yes, that's right.
Now you see why this show chews up producers. I mean. Now you see why Beards is in therapy.
Beards should be in therapy.
Text says, I like the idea of Josh continuing to host the show while the argument just keeps going in the background.
Yeah.
I imagine Beards is probably in therapy right now with 2 ragdolls. And
probably.
Three ragdolls. I guess
Show me where Josh and Jason
shows
punched
what
you.
Jason and Matt were doing when they broke you.
Text says, Jason has blown any chance of ever getting Bichelle on for an interview.
Good.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
I'd like to thank the texter for giving me the title for the hour of the podcast. I can just write a passionate, irrelevant argument with Matt Derrick. That'll be up in a couple hours. Thank you, texter.
Text says, Josh, are you on a different show today?
I'm here.
Text says, let's see. I pray for the Monday after Bichelle helps us win a game this year. Dear football gods, let it happen.
Oh, if it happens, trust me, I will be here on a Monday.
Matt will be here with bells on.
No, but we'll go back and listen when I said, yes, a game or two, that's fine over the course of the season, but he's not going to do that over even what Oladokin can bring you. The Mahomes gone for the season, you're not winning the Super Bowl. Therefore, I don't care who the quarterback is.
You can't know what days he's going to be hurt on. Hey, Josh Kaiser, Josh Briscoe here. I'm going to just call you. We're going to talk about the Royals for a little bit. They're going to keep going.
You can put that in under self-own.
Text says, Walter, I'm perfectly calm, dude. Calmer than you are. All right. Thank you, Matt. You're
I'm
going
to get in trouble when I get home because if Nancy heard this, I'm definitely boned.
Whoa. Mark that. All right, Josh, welcome to the show. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, joining us here. Josh, Bichelle on the team or like somebody else? Like, should Bichelle be on the Royals is what I want to know.
This is truly a rich man, poor man thing because you guys are so passionately, and that's the correct word, passionately arguing about a third quarterback on the roster.
Dude, you are so right.
And the Royals are struggling to get like 9 deserving players for a Major League roster spot.
So true.
So here we are, and that's literally just like across the parking lot. So if we could just balance just a little bit on the other side of the stadium, that would be super duper.
That is so true, man. that is so well put. That we are having a passionate discussion over the third string quarterback and winning a Super Bowl while having a calm discussion about the 39-win Royals.
I want 5-ply toilet paper, Daddy. We'll get 4, and that is enough.
But I want a third quarterback now, Daddy.
The part where Josh is just trying to navigate the waters and break in a little bit. I don't know if it's tension is kind of the word, but still, like, you guys are obviously cool with each other. It reminded me of like college debates in the bar. Be like, this is just absolute nonsense at this point. So can I just throw a joke in here to get past it or not? Nope. Okay, I'm going to go back here and say
because it's nonsense because we're arguing over guys wearing pads trying to tackle each other or advance an oblong-shaped ball across a line to score points. And we're arguing passionately over it because they wear the jersey of our city. That's why.
Can I just cut in and be like, Jadeveon Clowney just signed with Ball. No, I can't say that. No, we're not.
Shut up.
doing that. Okay.
Josh, I sat on that information for a solid 15 minutes. I was waiting to interject that as a deflator for 15 minutes.
Sit down, Clowney. Come on. Here's an odd change from yelling about or talking about or just passionately discussing the difference between a third quarterback or a fourth tight end, just in general, both sort of making those analogies or whatever, just as hypotheticals. But from that on a team that's the favorite to win the Super Bowl to then the Royals that you talk about, and they lost 3 of 4 from the Mariners, but man, I feel pretty good about the way they played. I feel pretty good about what they did. It's an odd position that they're in, but it is reality of what they're dealing with right now. And one of the points that I made at the first part of the show, Josh, is I look over at the Mariners, and I don't see the 27 Yankees. I see a couple of good starters. I see some bullpen pieces. I see a superstar in Rodriguez and a nicely put-together team. I see a team that, why not the Royals, a year from now in 2025 or whatever, that is a game out of the wild card in the middle of August because they've got a superstar player that can carry them in a series the way that Rodriguez did in this one.
100%. I kind of came into this season kind of, I guess, predicting that the Royals are on the Baltimore trajectory. Like Baltimore kind of overachieved a little bit last year, but they were hovering around 500, and they were in it till the very end, playing pretty high leverage ball.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like that was the timeline for the Royals. Turns out that is the exact opposite of where we are apparently as an organization, but we are in moral victory part of the season, as Royals fans are very common or very familiar with at this point. But yeah, I mean, I felt the same way about that Mariners. We could easily be talking about a 4-game sweep at that point. They had either had the lead or were tied in every one of those games after the 6th inning. So as long as that bullpen even remotely has a pulse, we could be talking about a 42-81 team instead of a 39-84 team. So, take that for what it's worth. But I did feel good. I mean, the Mariners, like you said, they have some pitchers, but that pitching staff is potentially like the second best pitching staff in the majors. And the Royals put up 23 runs in 4 games against them. That's absolutely something to feel good about. And they're kind of coming off an identity that we didn't have coming into this. We didn't know what this team was going to be. We didn't know what to kind of expect from them. But they've kind of gone back to the high average, run the bases really well, steal all the bases, and then play good defense and see where we are at the end of it. If the pitching staff even remotely has a pulse, then we're going to be in games. And so I think that if that's the way we're going back to small ball baseball with timely hitting, then we've at least established an identity. And going into next year, that's something to build off. And again, this is moral victory season, so that's kind of where we are. It's like maybe we can establish some momentum to take into the off season and figure out what we need to do as a team.
I'm going to make a football comparison because we haven't done that yet. The divisional playoff game with Chiefs and Bills, when it was that crazy back and forth, 13 seconds, all of that stuff. And it was like, wow, Mahomes and dueling Josh Allen. It was like, well, Mahomes was going up against the number 1 defense in the NFL in the Bills, and Josh Allen was going up against the Chiefs defense. So there's a little bit of a difference there. I bring that up in Rodriguez and Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt was going at the plate against the pitching staff that you talked about with the Mariners, and Rodriguez was hitting off the Royals. So Rodriguez had an amazing series, but it isn't exactly apples to apples when you're talking about the pitchers they were going up against. But you see the superstar status in Rodriguez, and to me, that's the promising part about Bobby Witt in that, okay, cool, Mike Trout's never won a playoff game. All right, well, let's not continue to use, Tungsten Armo Doyle's franchise as, the example of, hey, do you need a superstar or not? Because I can see the Mariners and what they're doing, and I can see it being built around Bobby Witt Jr.
100%. And again, that's another thing that we have found out through this year of assessment, and something we can point to be somewhat encouraged about is Bobby Witt's ascension here. And you can say whatever you want to about, arbitrary dates, but the truth of the matter is that he's been playing pretty damn good baseball for 3 months, and that is absolutely something that we can build off of. Yeah. And I'm pretty pumped to see that. And you always kind of wonder as a leadoff hitter or hitting behind guys that aren't really good at getting on base, what is that going to really do to carry an offense? And that's basically what you saw from Julio Rodriguez. Is the guys that are hitting around him are not necessarily like the Mike Trouts. They're not the Shohei Ohtanis. They're not the Aaron Judges. They're not Luis Arraez. They're a bunch of guys that just kind of grind out at bats, and they don't strike out ever, apparently. They just foul off every pitch that they could possibly strike at or swing at. But it's just you can kind of see what Julio Rodriguez means to that lineup, and that could absolutely be or is already Bobby Witt Jr.'s, potential to carry this offense as well.
Visiting with Josh Kaiser from One Royal Way podcast, great podcast if you want to, just listen, talk, hear, weigh in, even with some comments about the Royals and this season. The core, which has been part of the conversation, Josh, this year of an evaluation to see what they have moving forward and what different moves they can make in the offseason, whether that be free agency, spending money, we'll see if they do that, or trades and moving some pieces around. We talked about Bobby Witt. Brady Singer certainly looks like he's growing back into that guy that he was, last year that we talked about in the offseason. Vinny Pasquantino, I feel pretty good about, when Pasquantino's healthy, what he's going to be. How much more do we need to see, or how long of a stretch do we need to see from MJ to put him maybe in the category with, not to the superstar level of Bobby, but guys that you look at and say, okay, they can be on a team. This team wins a division in a couple of years. This guy's on it. This guy's on it. This guy's on it. MJ Melendez, since the All-Star break, it's 31 games. It's getting more and more. It's not a 10-game sample, which was what we talked about right after the All-Star break of, hey, MJ's turning it around. It's now 31 games in which he's batting .310 and OPSing at essentially 900. And in the 31 games, he would pace for the course of a season of 37 doubles and 31 home runs. How much longer, doesn't have to be 900 OPS, but how much longer of a stretch do you need to see MJ playing and profiling at the major league level close to what he did in the minors until you can say, okay, I feel like MJ has figured it out and this is going to be close to who he's going to be on a consistent basis moving forward?
As a jaded former farm system follower that bought in on so many guys, I'm going to give my leash and prove it timeline is going to be probably longer than most other people. So I'm going to say pretty close to the rest of the season. I need him to stay, I don't know, a WRC plus of maybe 110 to be able to kind of buy into it completely. Because the main driver of that, we talked about on this last episode, was where he's going to be defensively. If he's not going to be catching, his error of margin on what he should be doing at the plate, absolutely decreases to a very, very small size. You can take a catcher that has an OPS of 730 and call that a win. They could probably get all-star votes that way. I mean, Freddie is absolutely a monster, and he could probably be getting all-star votes at this point. So as a corner outfielder that doesn't play very good defense, you kind of have to contextualize it to, who is doing that, who is that profile in the major leagues right now. And you have, Acuna, Trout, Judge, a lot of these guys that are monster bats, and then a bunch of Jags, a bunch of nobodies. So if you're going to expect MJ to provide the level of defense that he's provided out there this year, then his bat's got to be stellar to be able to offset that. So if he's doing what he's been doing the last 31 games, great. Chalk him in for the next 4 years or whatever before you probably have to trade him because he's a Scott Boras client and not going to extend with the Royals. Then you can go ahead and do that. But it's going to take at least probably to the rest of the season before I'm ready to kind of do that. And it's kind of the same with Nick Prado, same with Drew Waters. I mean, all those guys are kind of the same. They kind of got the same course. They kind of got the same, high hills and low valleys as far as their roller coaster of a season kind of plays and flows through. But that's kind of where I am with those three guys for sure.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And, MJ Melendez, the way he plays defense, you're right. I mean, it makes the bat need to be that much better. Alex Gordon, you can get away with some of the things that he did at the plate because he was just on a different planet in left field. And, MJ is not Manny Ramirez at the plate, but the old line about Manny Ramirez was drive in more than you let in, and he would do that. He would drive in more than he let in, and it was easier for him with the Green Monster behind him to play in left field rather than the spacious Kauffman Stadium that a left fielder like MJ Melendez will be playing, or right field, wherever they want to put him. I don't care. So it is going to be more different, a little more different than that. But I mean, if he profiles close to this, and you talked about the WRC Plus and things like that, but I mean, if he's close to a 30 double, 30 home run season playing left field and playing the same exact defensive left field that he does right now, is that doable for you? And say, okay, put him in there for the next 4 years, and yeah, he's going to have some issues in left field, but you know what? He's going to be a guy that can bat fifth, and with the other guys in your lineup, and you don't feel like this guy's up, oh God, he's going to give you an out, and also he's going to have an error in the game.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I would feel. The benefit of him at the plate is greater than what he would need to be doing in the field, in left field, I think. And he shows some athleticism out there. He made a great running play where he ran for damn near 200 yards to make the play on the warning track yesterday. But then he has that really hard hit line drive that just absolutely eats him up. And thankful for a Bobby Witt throw of the century to nab a dude at home plate, kind of bailed him out there. But I mean, that's just kind of what you're going to get, and you have to have that consistent production at the plate in order to justify that as a core member, I think.
I haven't seen a throw like that since the Tom Amansky videos, back-to-back AAU national champions from the outfield.
I tweeted, it was like, that is some bucket drill nonsense, and that's exactly what I had in mind. Because it was absolutely on a line, darted.
One bounce.
And you could have, I mean, Fermin he didn't move his glove at all.
Was there the one bounce, or that was just directly on line, right? It didn't bounce, right? No, it did not.
Didn't bounce.
No, it did not. Yeah.
Yep.
I said the one bounce, and I'm like, no, it didn't. I was thinking about Little League baseball practice last night. That was the one bounce to my son, and it went right through his glove. I'm like, dude, that was perfect from left field. Dude throws a dart from left field. My son's catcher. It's just up to third baseline. The ball hits and skips a little bit lower than probably it should, but he wasn't down low enough to where he should have been. I mean, 7 years old, get it together, kid. And it goes past him, and the kid on his team scores, and I'm like, dude, right field, that ain't you. That was an absolute gorgeous one hop there. Skipped a little lower because Little League dirt, all of that stuff. Sure. But yeah, it did not bounce. It was gorgeous from Bobby Witt. Josh Kaiser is our guest. One Royal Way podcast. We'll talk some Royals and some Little League as we continue with Josh here. Michael Garcia is an interesting one because as the season goes along, we know he can play a really good third base, and he's fine at the plate. And what they're doing with the 1-2 spot, I'm good with Garcia and Bobby Witt. But as they go into the offseason and, quote, transactional, and we know that J.J. Piccolo was close to pulling off a deal that was going to be that hurt. He talked about it and said that, they had a deal that they were talking to a team, then they come back and the names changed, and they were like, whoa, no, then they didn't do the deal. John Sherman was on with Soren Petro a couple of Fridays ago and said it was really interesting being in the room because there was a trade that was on the table that would have absolutely hurt, and then we talked to the team again, and they switched the names around, and JJ stood his ground and said, no, we're not just going to move this guy for anybody. This was the deal that we were talking about with these players. You change the players. We're not doing the deal. We're not making the trade. And John Sherman said it would absolutely have been a trade that would have hurt. Whether that's Brady Singer or if it's Salvador Perez, whatever it is, I don't care. What I think is fascinating is at least the philosophy of and the process of saying we've got to move these guys because we need help in different places or whatever that might be. I bring that up with Michael Garcia. He's an awesome third baseman defensively, but he's a light-hitting third baseman. He'd be a really valuable shortstop for somebody. Is he more valuable to the Royals and what he can bring back than putting him at third base and leadoff hitter moving forward?
I think it's all in the beholder. I mean, obviously, thanks for that answer, Josh, dummy. It just depends on the dynamic of the team that's asking for him. I think he can absolutely bring a really good haul, especially with the amount of control that he has. Mm-hmm. But I also think that, having him at third base and Bobby as shortstop can kind of act as a net, you can net a traditional shortstop and third base combination at the plate between those two guys. and have stellar defense on the left side too, and have that completely locked down.
Interesting way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that when we were talking about who's going to be playing third in the future, and Maikel Garcia coming into the year hadn't played any professional innings at third base, comes up and absolutely would look very, very comfortable at third base. So it kind of started to kind of wonder if this could be a long-term solution, and I really think it could be. And the Royals offense absolutely lacks guys who can take pitches, who can get on base, who can take walks, and they have for some time. So the fact that Maikel Garcia is that guy, is comfortable at third base, can complement Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop, lock down the entire left side of the infield with athletic, great defense, then that's huge just for the defense value. And what he can do at the plate is just kind of house money at that point. So you don't have a traditional shortstop because you got a power producer, but also uber athletic, so a 5-tool guy. You have an untraditional third baseman that plays shortstop that can also bat leadoff and produce runs that way. I think it's just, kind of a net. You kind of have your combination over there, but you got to be listening on anybody at this point, except, even Bobby Witt Jr. at this point. If you get a team that is ready to give you the world for Bobby Witt Jr., you got to be taking that call, I think. But at the same time, you got to know your players too, and I think the Royals do at this point.
No, I think it's a good point, and it's a great way of viewing it. It reminds me a little bit of when we talk about the salary cap for the tackles for the Chiefs. It's like they're spending so much money on right tackle. They're not spending much on left tackle. So if you just simply say, here are your tackles and here's the money you're spending, it's a light-hitting third baseman and it's a stud shortstop. So this is the left side of your infield, and it's an amazing defensive side of the infield as well. I know that they tried him at center field a little bit, Garcia, in AAA, and I don't know if that's a possibility for him in the future. The Marlins and Jazz Chisholm, they moved him to center field, and it was terrible at the beginning. It hasn't been as bad lately as he's getting more and more used to it. I don't know if they have a third baseman that's coming up, or they trade Salvi or somebody else and they get a pretty darn good third baseman, and they say, okay, well, now we're going to figure out third base and center field at the same time with Garcia and whoever this guy is. Then you're two birds, one stone. So
yeah, 100%. And then the free agent class for third baseman compared to outfielders is, there's not that many third basemen. I think Matt Chapman is a free agent this year. Willie Adames is either this year or next year. That's really who you'd be looking at to be potentially covering that if you had a hole at third base. And otherwise, you're waiting for Caden Wallace, who I think has just got bumped up to Double-A at this point. But it's still going to be a couple seasons away before you're even thinking about him over there. So you could bring up Nick Thick Lofton. He's been on the tear since the second half started, and that's also a possibility in the outfield now too. So they got options, and I'm really curious to see, because like you guys, like everybody, it seems like this offseason is going to be a big teller on this timeline of contention. They do need to do some things. They need to clean some stuff up, but there's been some solid, encouraging progression in some of these guys that is also what you wanted to see outside of just being able to get some wins is the next step. So it's going to be kind of a fascinating offseason to kind of figure that out.
Last one for you real quick. John McMillan made his Major League Baseball debut last night or yesterday, and a guy that went from low A to the major leagues this year and who was pretty bad last year in 31 innings, had 38 walks and 45 strikeouts. He's been much better this year. 51 innings in the minor leagues, 2.1 ERA, and 91 strikeouts and only 25 walks. Still not great with the walk percentage, but certainly better than what it was a year ago. There's a little James Karinchak in him that he's wild but has great stuff. If they can figure out him to throw more strikes, do they have a prospective elite back into the bullpen guy? Maybe not a closer, but just a guy that can be a setup or be maybe even grow into a closer, because the stuff is there. If he could command it a little bit, he can be dynamite.
Yeah, you said it. He's got the stuff. I kind of got some Josh Staumont vibes from him yesterday. Pumping potentially triple digits. He got a hammer that absolutely was baffling dudes to play yesterday. Hudler was talking about how uncomfortable they were with Kowar. But McMillan absolutely, except for the home run, obviously. But everybody else was looking real confused by that breaking ball. So, having said that, we have seen the Stammonts, the Colemans, the Rosenthals, with plenty of these hard-throwing guys that have trouble commanding. We've also seen Aroldis Chapman. So there is something there that can click, but it's just guy dependent. So I'm not going to call him elite by any means at this point, but it is, trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and I don't think he's elite right now, but if he can command it, if he can figure that part of it out, if he can command it with the stuff, I think he has elite potential. If the command improves, and it's certainly improved from last year to this year. Does that trajectory continue as a guy who's just 25 years old and has ridiculous stuff and is incredibly athletic? You can tell that on the mound too, and in his delivery and things like that. So I don't know. I liked what I saw yesterday in a bullpen full of guys that I don't care to see them pitch very often. So there you go. Josh Kaiser.
So bad. The bullpen is just absolutely in shambles, and you see every day they make a roster move just for some kind of hope or some kind of maybe this will work, and it's just that's what it's here for. And honestly, you want to be in a position where it matters, and that's kind of what they've been in the last few weeks. Is they've had leads, they've had ties, they've been in games, they've been making comebacks, and it's good to see that. And then I think a bullpen is fairly easy to kind of put together. You're not going to get the elite bullpens, but a quality bullpen that can keep you in games and get you wins and keep you in the win column a little bit more often, 40 games or whatever, then that is what it is. So if that's the biggest problem coming out of this season, which I don't think it will be, starters are still going to be a problem. But if the bullpen is something that they're going to need to address, it's way easier to address that than anything else. I
just imagine them sitting in Matt Quatrera's office. He and J.J. Picollo, they have two hats. One hat full of the bullpen rosters names there, and one hat full of guys in the minor leagues. And they pull one from one hat. It's like, oh, okay, so I guess it's Dylan Coleman for or Whitgren for McMillan. Okay, there we go. Let's get McMillan up here. Nick, sorry about that, man. You're going to go. And then 2 days later, let's just shuffle it around. Oh, sorry, Jackson. I know you just got here, but we're going to have to send you back down for shuffle it around. Insert name here. I can see that happening. It just seems like that's what the deal is.
That whole 15 days after you get optioned is going to be a real problem here in a week or so, I think.
That's
but
a good point.
Hey, this is a lot of fun to watch all the revolving door.
Let's see what happens. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast. Josh, great stuff, man. Very much appreciate the time you joining us and taking a few minutes out of your day for us today, brother. Appreciate it as always.
Always appreciate you guys having me. We'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely. There's Josh Kaiser. Great stuff, man. Love talking to him. And go check out the podcast, too, One Royal Way podcast. They do a great job there, breaking down and talking some Royals and things like that. And always find a way to insert Shane Bichelle into the conversation, because Lord knows he's never been inserted into an actual football game before. We'll take...
Matt's not here anymore, Jason. He can't respond to you, and I refuse to.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That had nothing to do with Matt. That was about Josh Kaiser.
And just his love of Shane Buechele, weirdly.
That's right. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Hey, there's lots of love out there for a number of different people when it comes to the athlete. Thank you to Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, joining us, talking about the Rawls and what they have done in their 4-game series against the Mariners, and also, I don't know, just in different times this year in their big 39-win season so far. But we certainly appreciate Josh joining us and talking about that team, and then also some other individual players and et cetera, et cetera. Thank you to Matt Derrick in the 11 o'clock hour, and we broke down a lot of parts of the Chiefs and preseason game number 2, what he wants to see.
We definitely broke down.
And his rosterology, and we broke down a lot of parts that have to do with the third-string quarterback and the 52nd or third man on the Chiefs roster. So we got really into the weeds with it. Was that even into the weeds? That wasn't even the weeds. That was like into the swamp underneath, sort of the second or third layer underneath the swamp in the weeds.
I wish I would have been in the weeds. Yeah, that would have been a lot more pleasant way to spend my hour.
It would have been nice having the
plural
weed.
weeds or just like a singular.
The way I do it, plural weeds.
Yeah, I will have one weed, sir. Thank you.
Love that bit of yours.
Nope. I am not.
Can I have one drug?
I am not the cops, actually. I am a cool kid like you.
Hey, you know what? Heck the police. Sorry, the what? What? Heck what? I don't even know what the law is.
I don't care.
I'm going to do 7 weeds tonight.
Which, by the way, is
I'm with
legal
you.
in Missouri. So that's
I don't
cool.
like the cops. What? 7 weeds, please. No, dude, I do it all the time. I shoot up marijuana all the time, man. I don't even care. No, not at all, man. I snort craft beer.
Jason one time had a sparkling water, and he was hammered for like 3 days.
Bubbles in there?
I gave him a LaCroix, and he was sideways.
You hadn't had your Lunchable that day, so really, your body's really soaked up the alcohol.
That's old Jason.
The Uncrustable Lunchable. You can get Uncrustables from Guaranteed Foods as well. So just saying, if you wanted that.
Character
When's the last time
development.
you had a meal that didn't end in a bowl?
I just had some nice fresh vegetable fruits. Sorry,
fruitables.
I was like, why does it matter what vessel he was eating it in? Why does it matter if it was in a bowl or not? Oh, you mean a bowl?
A bowl.
Well, it can be in a bowl. It doesn't matter.
Vegetable.
I don't care what the medium is.
No, I was confused why Mick was so concerned about like all you do is eat out of bowls, Jason. I was like, I don't think is that a stereotype?
Quick Trip bowl.
That's exactly right. Yes. Cerealable bowl of cereal. Cereal bowl. Yes. Guaranteed.
All of his food is guaranteeable. That's what I would say.
That's actually right. That's been awesome. That's why I'm bringing nice stuff for lunch.
It really has
breakfast.
been bizarre to watch him like eat like a grown up and like eat food that looks good and smells good. And then I'm like, hey man, that's what the guaranteed foods are doing for him.
Yep.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, because it's much easier to prep. So
yeah,
everything from frozen. Boom. Go.
He's over here like gnawing on some like delicious chicken fried steak.
Chicken fried steak.
And now I'm over
good.
here like eating like a little pack of peanuts. And now I feel like the idiot.
Frozen minute and a half later. Oh, it's so good. So good. Yeah, you should do
When's
it.
18 going to give you like 30 minutes off for lunch every day?
I don't know. I've been just like
question.
12 to 12:30.
I mean, I don't know. My contract's up in 15 years, so trying to think. Sorry, everybody out there that heard that, especially some of the texters when Matt
signed
Derrick and I
one of
were
those
talking.
20-year contracts.
That's right. Lifetime contract.
It's all in escrow.
Yeah.
It's like
That's right.
guarantee mechanisms. Guaranteed food mechanisms. Hey, hold on. We can work with that.
913-912-4810 text says, I've only seen one online mention about the field condition of the Phoenix Stadium.
Yeah, we should be talking about
still
that.
crap.
Of course it is.
Has the team checked it out? Could be injury troubles. Andy Reid talked about it yesterday and said that at least there's more, what do you say, grab or stickiness?
Yeah, it's grabbing.
It's grabbing the instead of just sliding around on wax and spray paint.
Well, it was
like the Super Bowl
bad
was.
in
gripping.
week
Gripping
1
was
last
the
year.
word. Gripping well.
Right?
Yeah.
Harrison
Butker
Butker got hurt because of that field.
Yep.
It wasn't gripping
and
well.
McDuffie. Butker
Oklahoma
and McDuffie.
State played at Chase Field in whatever bowl game it is, an Insight Desert type bowl game, whatever. And it was worse than the Super Bowl field and week 1 field combined. It was awful.
We've done this bit before.
What's wrong with your Diamondbacks field there, Josh?
I just typed Chase Field Bowl Game. Like I was going to type Chase Field Bowl Game Oklahoma State, and my Google autofills Chase Field Bowl Game Oklahoma State, because clearly you've made this reference before. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to find the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Guaranteed Rate.
Guaranteed Foods
Guaranteed
Bowl.
Foods Bowl. When's the last time you ate something that out of a bowl? Hello. Full circle. Wow, this segment's gone great.
Absolutely. Tex wants to know, was that Mitch's kid in left field? No, it wasn't. Thank you. But no, Andy Reid did say it was
gripping.
Gripping.
Well.
well, and they'd already checked it out, and not like what the issues were. I mean, it's.
I bet it still sucks.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's going to suck.
It's easy to say that right now until you get out there and have them play. I would say the first series, once you see what the grip is, that's when I decide how much my starters are playing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't care. The whole starters are going to the first half. Go the first half next week. go the first half next week. Do switch game 2 and game 3, and get them out of there.
All patterns are fly patterns for that wide receiver room, which is already banged up. Okay,
Yeah.
No cutting, right? We're not nothing to the route other than just straight down the field. Fly patterns. See what happens. I bet they still do pretty good.
I think that's like half the receiving room right now.
Fly patterns.
You can have just Ross and MVS just screaming down the field.
I don't want them yelling.
Maybe Sky Moore. Maybe Sky Moore just jogs the whole day. Just like some nice round routes, He just kind of takes a leisurely little jog over the middle.
Carry over a walkthrough into the game. Just
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of the game here. That's great. No, I mean, look, the Cardinals have been practicing on that field, so I guess if it's okay for them
They
to
should
practice
care,
on
The
right?
Cardinals suck too. They match their field.
The Cardinals
They probably
team
want some of their guys
matches
to
their
get
field.
banged up.
Maybe.
Tear a ligament or two.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's one of the strategies that they have. I don't
be
think that's the case. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yes, Andy Reid has weighed in on that, so that there's a little more grip. I don't know. But I'm totally in agreement with this. Is one of the games when the preseason game came out that they were playing in Arizona. I'm like, I don't care. Don't play anybody. Patrick Mahomes will play a couple of series.
I mean, after pregame, if it looks like somebody just
Yeah, it's
aerated
true.
out there, don't even wait till the game. Like, you know what? We're gonna Aaron Rodgers, Patrick
right.
Mahomes, right?
Yeah, we're gonna.
He's doing everything else that Aaron Rodgers does, only better. He might as well stand on the sidelines better.
He sat in the dark for 2 weeks.
That's right. Just going to go the route of what all of these teams are really. Nick Sirianni's not playing starters. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Some of those starters aren't playing.
And maybe
the
that
Rams
will
don't play
get
the starters.
rid of preseason games. After the contract with KSHB is up.
Yeah. The Lions don't play their starters, which is something that I really am interested to seeing on September 7th when the Chiefs play their starters. And Andy Reid talks about the importance of going out there. And he's like, look, it's football. I mean, there's injuries that are going to happen, but you got to weigh that against we got to be ready to go against the Lions, where the Lions don't play their starters. They have guys out there.
They've had a joint scrimmage,
They have joint
right?
practices.
Yeah.
They've had those. And speaking of, getting through days and arguments and things like that.
Aaron Rodgers has a joint handshake.
That's true.
That's right, he does. With Sauce, right?
Yeah.
And that was Sauce. So they've had joint practices, but Andy Reid clearly doesn't want to do the joint practices. He places guys in the preseason games. So I am curious to see what it looks like for the Lions, because I think there's certainly a decent chance that the Chiefs coming out sluggish against the Saints, when it's the first time they've been in an actual game since the Super Bowl, that we've been practicing, we've been doing this in practice, it's going to be difficult to match that energy level that first time out, which I don't want that first time out to be against the Lions, to match that energy level. I want it to be against the Lions, the Cardinals, and then I don't even know who they play next week. And then come September 7th.
The Browns.
Browns, cool.
Week 3, yeah.
Then come September 7th, then whoever they, however they come out versus, I think, the unknown of the Lions, who are going through some, different joint practices, but I don't think you can match the level even in a joint practice of a game with the crowd and TV.
I was kind of surprised once they went to 3 preseason games a couple years ago. I wondered, okay, is that third preseason game going to still be the same? Because they had the week off and there's going to bang the fourth game where none of the starters ever play, or does the third preseason game turn into the fourth preseason game? And that's what's happened for Andy Reid. I don't know if that's how all the coaches around the league do it. And I get it. Sure. I guess you want to have that game where you have that back half of the roster playing almost every snap to make those final few decisions and everything. But I'm still kind of shocked that, okay, they've just eliminated that one game where the starters, at least for him, would play into the second half, where they get as close as possible to a real game. Because as it is now, they really don't get close at all to even a half of real Chiefs football before the regular season starts.
Yeah, and so I'm okay with it.
I am too, because of this team. I think if you're at other points in the NFL, tree and hierarchy, maybe you shouldn't do that. I mean, there's The Chiefs, most of their starters are proven. You have this generational quarterback, but if you're a middle of the road to bottom feeder in the NFL, I could see you approaching things a lot differently.
Yeah. I also think one of the things that I did want to talk to Matt Derrick about in the 11 o'clock hour, maybe next week we'll talk to him
We're all
about
trying
that.
to find out who did this.
Yes, maybe next week we'll talk to him about that. But just the difference in how teams and coaches approach camp, but also approach the acceptance versus being unacceptable with fights in practice, with fights that take place with their teammates or other teams. I want to talk about that a little bit on the other side and on into the 1 o'clock hour, since we did not get a chance to talk about that with Matt Derrick because Josh just took over the entire conversation.
My bad.
I mean, good night, man. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kansas City has some pretty extreme weather, wind, hail, and now, with the onset of summer, a lot of heat. Think about what that does to your roof. JPA Roofing has been serving Kansas.
Confidence.
You got to get the hearts.
Yeah,
in.
confidence. Chol. Confidence. Chol.
Confidence.
Confidential. That's how you say it.
No. It's hyphenated because it's about confidence, not about being confidential. There's no secrets here. We're sharing it all.
Hyphenating this.
We are. We're hyphenating.
The hyphenating fairy.
Yeah.
Confidence hyphen eel.
Correct. You want to see it here in the Google Doc?
Oh, I don't. It even hurts hearing it. I don't.
Jason
see it.
came up with the game. I came up with the name. Camp Confidence Seal.
Yeah. You just put it under your pillow and
can I throw in a better suggestion?
Sure.
We'll think about it during the break.
Okay.
No, I thought you were going to throw it in right now.
That's so easy, is it, big guy?
No, it'll be way easier. I promise. A better name after the break.
You don't want Michelle either? I get it.
Matt Coker here with West Coast Men's Health. In the past 5 years, we've seen thousands of men at our clinics. Most guys tell us the same story, that in their early 50s, it's not that they couldn't function, they just...
Better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we're hanging out with Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director. What do you guys got going on tomorrow for the game? You got the 4-hour pregame and 6-hour postgame. So you guys are on the air till
you have
3
my
o'clock?
Suicide as well.
4 o'clock in the morning?
No, but it's gonna be a fun day. We have a 6 o'clock pregame show. An hour. We will have a presence there in Arizona for the game, a 7 o'clock kick, and then we'll have a postgame show that will intersperse some news into it for an hour afterward, but we'll have live press conferences afterward with Andy Reid and, I don't know, Blaine Gabbert this time or whoever it wasn't.
It was Bichelle last week.
Bichelle last week.
It was Reid, Bichelle, and sorry, that's all we got. We got to get the hell out of here.
Yes.
And
that was a noon game.
That was a noon game.
That was a noon game.
You might not even get Andy Reid. It might just be like
3 questions with Dave Tobe.
Here's Dave Tobe.
And then Brad G's going to freestyle for a couple minutes, and then we're out of here.
That's right. And Ted Cruz will give you the injuries, and then that's it.
Were you hosting postgame too?
Yeah. I'll be here.
He had postgame. Let's see, it's required 2.5 or 3 hours.
It's the rules are a little different for the preseason, and I think we will have a hard out at midnight. So I would say I will turn into a pumpkin. I think that is most likely what will happen.
Dreams.
We'll see.
You don't. I mean, every caller doesn't have a right to be on the air. You could just end the show with the phone lines lit up.
Not at all. I believe Todd came in yesterday and said, "Josh, if you go less than 2 hours, you're fired." Isn't that what he said?
I think that's what he said. I just know that
I heard
midnight,
2 hours and fired.
I believe that midnight is the latest that it will go, and I think we'll probably just keep doing show while it feels like people are still listening. I just kind of feel.
Let's hope this game doesn't go into 4 overtimes.
They don't do overtimes at preseason, correct?
They do not.
Because they tied. Was it last night? They had a tie in the Eagles game.
It was a tie.
I really love and really miss NFL football, and not quite enough to watch preseason games for teams.
It is a stark contrast, isn't it? Like how much you love to watch just any NFL game, and then how much it really pains you to watch your own team play a preseason game.
The game was on in the background while I was making phone calls around the league to try to trade Shane Bichelle. So that was just there while I was watching. But yeah, actually, you know what? The quarterback for who was playing last night? The Eagles.
Cleveland, not Cleveland. They have some people tweeting about the Eagles back.
Mariota was right.
Yeah, but the third string, the guy they drafted in the 6th round or 5th round from Stanford, he was pretty darn good. I mean, he was throwing some darts. I'm like,
Bichelle looked good Sunday.
You watch your mouth, man. I can't do this again.
He was okay. He had the really
cool... You know what backup quarterbacks are? Third stringers? They're okay at best.
Cool.
So he achieved his status on the team.
Not doing it.
Tanner McKee.
Tanner McKee. Bradley McKee. No, that's not Bradley McKee.
You guys must have really got into it.
Did he go to Stanford, right?
Sure did.
Yeah, so
Stanford guy.
He was a Pac-4 guy.
Yep. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the one who's taken over the league by storm.
Yes.
And I will see him in week 3.
Chiefs will see him next week, or they'll just play Kellen Mond the whole time so that they can have their third-string quarterback, the Browns, because Mond was the second string, and now DTR is the second string, and Mond has moved to third.
He got flagged. I'm not going to let you suck this into a third quarterback conversation again. He got flagged for an illegal blindside block.
Yes. And
that rules.
It popped the guy's shoulder out of place, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
that doesn't rule.
The guy left the game with the the quarterback dislocated the guy's shoulder. I think you actually have to retire from football when that happens.
He threw 2 blocks on a third down run play, like lead blocking for his running back, and then again just headhunting against the Eagles. I don't know whenever that game was.
Well, the Eagles were last night.
Okay, yeah, that August 17th looks like last night.
That would be the date.
He threw 2 blocks on this same play in a game that was 3-2. I mean, a preseason game that was 3-2.
5-3 at one point.
I missed an opportunity. I should have watched this game. This rules.
Yeah, you did miss a scoregami. You missed all of that. So unfortunately for you. So Hard Knocks was on this week, episode number 2. And one of the things that in watching that, we talked a little bit about something that came from Hard Knocks in the Jets offensive line. That while we're talking about the Chiefs and the margins of winning the Super Bowl and here or there, there's not one particular group that would be like the whole thing can come crashing down because of this group. The defensive line doesn't look great right now, but the Chiefs offense can outscore teams. We mentioned Harry Douglas was on ESPN the other day and said the Chiefs would still be a Super Bowl favorite if Chris Jones doesn't play this year, because they have Patrick Mahomes and they have the offense. And as long as 15 and 87 and those guys are out there, the Chiefs are the team to beat.
That might be, if he doesn't play this year, that might set the table for a record-setting offense from the Chiefs. when they know they have to score 35 every game.
It might, yeah, it might have to. But to his point, like, and so I hear that, and then we also talk about it. Like, defensive line certainly can use some improvements, things like. But it's not. Hey, if the defensive line is average or below average, the Chiefs have no chance of winning a Super Bowl. They do because they got Patrick Mahomes. But the Jets' offensive line is that bad that the whole thing can come crashing down if that offensive line is just as bad as they've looked so far. So we talked about from the Hard Knocks and looking at the Chiefs and looking at, other areas of teams that may have some death knells and some fatal flaws. The Jets may have that with their offensive line. But also coming out of that episode that we didn't talk about that I wanted to get into is just the different ways that camps go on. And we always talk about Andy Reid's camp and the fact that he's not going to have a joint practice because he wants to control exactly what goes on in the reps in his practice, and he plays his guys in preseason where that's typically the exchange. But I was interested to see Robert Saleh, how giddy he was when his players were fighting each other, when they were getting into fights out on the field. It's just a different way of going about it, and it doesn't mean that Andy Reid's way is the only way you can be successful because Sean McVay doesn't play his guys in preseason, and they won a Super Bowl. So there's different ways of going about it, but just the very strict, militant, if you fight, you're out of practice. Like, you are gone.
Is that Indy's rule?
Yeah, that was what Garrick Dieter and Anthony Sherman were talking about. Because you'd be
Travis
kicked out
hasn't been kicked out.
Well, he's Travis Kelce.
It's a good point.
Jack Cochran wasn't kicked out.
But Sherman's point was if you're kicked out of a game because you do this, you'd be kicked out of practice. Maybe other than
maybe
Travis
that
Kelce.
didn't escalate to what they called a fight, right?
Yeah.
Pushing and shoving, even maybe a hand to the helmet.
But if
doesn't
it gets
cross
into
the line.
A closed hand moving toward a helmet relatively quickly in an arm movement motion.
There's a threshold that Andy Reid you have to cross before he's going to kick you out of practice. Apparently, that is actually stabbing somebody with a shank in the side. Either way.
That's fair, I think. That's a good rule.
So you get
good
to that
rule.
point. You know what? They would kick you out of the game. We're going to kick you out of practice. Go over there and think about what you
kick you out
just
of
did.
society for a while.
Go think about what you just did. And you're going to have to come back and apologize to him once he gets stitched up, okay? But that's what they were talking about is if you fight, boom, out of practice. Okay, so maybe it's to some degree. But Robert Saleh was just like, yeah, people are pissed off today. This is going to be an interesting practice. And they're fighting, and he's like, look at him go. Look at him go. So just peeing on his own over there on the tree. Just look at him go. Keep it going, man. All right. Good for you. And that was really surprising to see a coach just sort of sit back and enjoy that his players were they kept getting in fights. It was a fight. Then, the way they cut it on Hard Knocks, it doesn't mean that, a few plays later they're in another fight. But it certainly seemed like a
lot of times they're showing the
players.
same fight from a different angle because they have 12 cameras.
No, there
out
were 5 fights. There was not one fight shot 5 different
But I
ways.
believe it happened between the first and second preseason games, right, where they kind of had a lackluster effort in the Hall of Fame game. And they parlayed those fights into a more energetic.
They went and shut out the whoever it was.
Yeah,
the Panthers.
Well-rounded effort against the Panthers, which they had, and they got their butts kicked a couple days before that in the joint practice with the Panthers.
Yeah,
I don't have seen too much of that where you have the joint practice and then you play them in the preseason game. I don't see that a whole lot.
They just flew to Carolina and just
hang
stayed
out
there
in
for like
Carolina
4
for a while.
days. Yeah. But it was I just thought that was interesting just to see and Deion Sanders was not promoting his players fighting, but the audio of him yelling at his players when players on his team were fighting amongst each other in a practice and players walked away from the fight and Deion yelled at the players that walked away because your teammates are fighting. You're fighting. If you guys are out there in the battle, you don't walk away from that. You go help your teammates. This is just what it's going to be. We are a team. You're going to stay as a team. You're going to stay connected. He's trying to change a culture, a little bit, whereas the NFL sort of this is your job. You're professional. This is how you go about it. Get your reps in. You only have a certain amount of time on the field because of CBA, college football, not as strict and things like that. I thought it interesting that Deion took the approach of, I'm yelling at the guys walking away from fighting. I'm not yelling at the guys that are fighting.
I think Deion and a lot of coaches out there, maybe the majority, are just fine with fighting. They want to take it past it. It's easier to coach a guy down from that level than to coach them up to where they've got to be on game day. I would venture a guess the majority of coaches out there, college and pro, are just fine with guys getting after it. I mean, to an extent. But I think you kind of need that, right? That juice going into to a season. You want those guys that, you know what? I don't know what he's going to do in this situation where they're going to have an edge, right? You need that in football to where, like I said, it's easier to kind of bring them down a gear than it is to take this kind of like more civil, docile human and turn him into a monster on the field.
You need the wild card in the group.
You absolutely need a wild card.
I don't know what that guy's going to do, so I'm just going to leave.
Yes.
I'm just going to back off.
Yes.
That guy might do something.
You might not want that in the first day of training camp, but I bet by the dog days where Travis Kelce is hunting for rookies and second-year defenders who want to punch the ball out, that's the time when it's like, if the energy level for camp is bad and a little skirmish is what gets your energy level up to make sure you are getting the most out of the rest of your reps, I could see there being a little chest there.
Can you imagine like a rookie defensive back or a defensive player just having to, cover Travis Kelce, hearing it from Spags, like, we need to work on this. You need to be punching it out. Then knowing, oh, God, how Travis is going to react.
Sorry.
How do you strike that balance?
You're lining up against him right across the line of scrimmage.
Dude, I've got to.
Travis,
I've got to try to punch this out.
I just want you to know I'm sorry. This is nothing personal, but I am going to punch at your stomach towards the football. If I don't hit the football, I am not trying to punch at you. Spags told me to do it. Okay, I'm just letting you know.
Come back. Shamari Connor. That's it. Can you imagine just the decisions he has to make out there? Do I want to impress my coach or not get killed by my teammate?
Hey, Killer Trav. I just want to let you know that I'm a big fan of yours. I grew up watching you play, and when I got drafted to the Chiefs, people were like, "Oh my God, you get to play with Travis Kelce." I'm like, I know.
Think of this movement as less of a punch and more of a fist pump. I'm going to hang out and play with Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I'm punching you as hard as I love you. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, that's how big of a fan I am as to how hard I'm going to punch you.
Trav, do you want the ball back as an offense this season or not? Because I'm working on the way to give you the ball back. This is really for you. Watch your kidney. Bam!
Watch your kidney. That's pretty good.
You think Drake's going to be upset I punched the microphone?
I was banging my head against the microphone earlier, so I mean, I think we're fine.
And a lot of people were banging their heads against their car speakers. That's even more dangerous.
Going, I just want more of this. This is great radio. Thank you, Marconi. That's what I heard.
Oh man, what if that hour does win a Marconi? We got to do that every week.
Every single.
So you guys were arguing between the third quarterback and the fourth tight end. Am I getting this?
Those were the hypotheticals.
Well, when you say it like that, make it sound stupid.
No, we both admitted how stupid it was.
It was
really
really
stupid.
Only seen like a need for a third quarterback once, and the fourth tight end in a game at the same time as the other once, and you guys were arguing over that. Okay, that's good. All right, got it. Makes sense. No, I know both of you.
It's sports.
And I'm kind of surprised by Matt, but not by you in that situation.
It's sports, though. You know?
Once Matt said that,
Sort of what we do.
Chris Oladukin's practice squad spot was safe because he's a good scout quarterback, I knew that the segment was gone. I knew we were not going to get to anything
I was like,
else.
hold on.
I knew it was going to go from there.
No, it was fun.
I went and grabbed some lunch.
Matt made some really good points.
You're arguing over guys who are going to be inactive then on Sundays.
Well, his point was that, Bichelle, the third string, will be active on the game because of the new rule, which is a great point, which is absolutely reason to keep the third quarterback on the roster. Stipulated, totally get that.
I don't know why they just don't. Okay, here's a 54th spot. It has to be a quarterback, right?
That'd be great.
It has to be a quarterback.
That'd be great.
Because they don't want to see that, and it's not going to happen once every 5 years, once every 10 years, whatever. Was it the Broncos had to play a wide receiver at quarterback?
Kendall Hinton.
But that was like that week.
That was COVID,
That
too.
was
He
going
was
in.
gonna
Start,
yeah.
that week. The 49ers ended up losing that during the game, but still. Let's do the campidence. Camp confidence.
Who do you think
Camp
would fare
defense.
better, Shane Buechele as a tight end or Matt Bushman as a quarterback? Your thoughts?
Bushman is a quarterback.
I think that's probably true.
Buechele's tight end.
Sneak.
What's a better chance of the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl? Buechele at quarterback or McKinnon at quarterback?
Buechele.
The answer is
It's the quarterback.
The answer is it doesn't matter.
Well, it matters a little.
The answer is it doesn't matter.
You said better chance,
It's a better
not that
chance.
it's going to be a good chance, but a better chance.
And the answer
one's
is doesn't
going to
matter.
be no.
The answer is doesn't matter.
No, the answer is
'Cause
Buechele.
It's both. It's both is 0%, but then winning the Super Bowl. So
No,
there isn't a better chance.
Actually,
0
it's
and 0.
above zero. Absolutely,
It is not. It is not above 0.
It's above. It's definitely.
Everything's above zero.
It's above 0.
You take
0%.
your kids' football team out there. There's above 0 chance to win the Super Bowl.
Above
mathematically, it is above
well,
zero.
I was going to do something even more insulting and say there's an above 0% chance the Arizona Cardinals win the Super Bowl this year, but that's even more insulting than the little kids football team thing.
Let's get to the defense.
Defense.
Confidence.
Confidence. Told you I'd come up with a much better.
Mick's got this. Confidence.
Mick's got this. How have we never done that bit before?
I don't know. I think it's taken. Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so let's go through the defensive line. Do we just want to do defensive line over? Let's just do defensive line.
I did just defensive line overall because it's all going the same direction for me.
Let's just do defensive line overall.
Because you guys have already put numbers out here.
We have, yeah.
Not for the defense. We haven't said the defense numbers yet.
Numbers yet.
Didn't you put them out going into the training camp?
No, we decided today where we started from too.
Yeah, we should have done that going into training camp. That would have been smarter.
Sure.
Something I'm going to take note of for next year, along with not asking.
You
the Bobby
think the guy
Scipio
who doesn't
question.
believe in backup quarterbacks wants to plan ahead for things? I mean, if we don't have Mahomes, Mick.
Come on. I mean,
so I thought you would love having Blaine Gabbert on this team, and the fact that you've just really railed against all backup quarterbacks is
not true.
Upsetting turn.
Also not true.
Mizzou legend, man.
Also not true.
Embrace that
Mizzou
part's
legend, yeah,
right,
but not true that I railed against
SEC
backup
legend.
quarterbacks. That's a great point.
SEC
also
legend.
not true.
No, I believe in having a good backup quarterback. I just don't need a third one because if your third one's playing, you're probably done anyway. Anyway, defensive line. I went into camp with my confidence at a 7.
That is
confidence at a 7.
I had a 7.
No kidding.
I sure did.
I'm going to pretend that I was thinking about this dumb game back in mid-July.
Yep.
And my confidence in the defensive line would have been, I'll go with an 8 because I was for sure Chris Jones was going to show up momentarily.
Yeah.
And they once again drafted a first-round pick.
That's right.
The defensive end position. Safety in numbers there. They don't all have to pan out. Just 2 of them do. And so I'll go with an 8 at that point.
Dylan?
I also have a 7.
Okay,
So.
7, 7, 8.
Give me a break.
Dylan's like, 6.
Yeah,
but,
you're going to be invited
7.
back no matter what. Just be
Dylan,
original.
You're part of the show now.
Well,
we haven't even introduced that yet.
I'm kind of playing the game the same way Mick is here. It's just acting like I had these.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I told him about this game 2 minutes before the show.
That's great, though. Get that initial instinct. Get that instinct. Don't really sit and think about it. Boom, instinct. I have gone from a 7 on the defensive line. I am sitting now coming out of St. Joe at a 4.
Whoa.
Chris Jones holdout. Omenahu, we found out that it's 6 games since we went in to camp. FAU is behind. And Turk Wharton is now missing practice again.
And you've seen Daniel Wise play.
And I've seen Daniel Wise play. Although Danny Shelton is slimmed down, so that maybe takes it up a notch. I don't know. I went from a 7.
Then some Danny Shelton.
I went from a 7. I'm now at a 4 in confidence, which is one of the biggest drop-offs of anybody or any positional group. Josh?
I was not going to be outdone on this one. I'm at a 3.
Ooh, wow.
I'm at a 3. When Chris Jones is in the building, that will change immediately. But right now he's not. That will take some time for him to get back to speed. We knew what I have written down here is Chris Jones, Chucky O, which is because spelling Omenahu is getting harder and harder for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I haven't gotten better at it. And Wharton TBD. That combination, I'm not backing up from where I was expecting FAU to be, honestly. Like I kind of think that at this point, rotational element, if Omenahu was playing, if Chris Jones was out there, I would feel fine about him. I feel good about George Karlaftis. But the interior of this defensive line looks fundamentally different than I would like for it to look. I am concerned about the rotation. Chris Jones isn't here right now. I've gone from a 7 to a 3 in confidence. It might get right back up to, if the Chiefs sign Chris Jones to an extension over the weekend, it'll be an 8 on Monday.
You know what? Those are emotional picks. That is a wide range. 8 to 3, 7 to 3 to 8. Kidding me?
What do you got?
Okay. I'm at a 5.
5, okay. 8
right?
to 5.
Just more reasoned here and on knee-jerk reactions. I'm taking it back 2 spots because of Chris Jones.
That's
I'm
3
taking
spots.
it back
Okay.
1. Well, I'm getting there.
Itemizing
I'm taking it back
as you see.
1 for Omenahu. FAU doesn't factor in for me. I never really counted on him. I think he can be behind at this point and still be fine, and the defensive line won't suffer. I think he'll either catch up or they've got other dudes. So that's how I got from 8 to 5.
I also kind of thought that they would have, especially with the suspension in mind, kind of thought there might be a Carlos Dunlap on this team.
Well, that's the thing. Like by the time season starts, they might have Jones and Dunlap out there on the field.
It could look very
against,
different
against the Lions, and that 3
August
or 4
18th.
or 5, can move up to like back to 7 or 8. Dylan?
I'm going to go 5 too. I'm going to drop it just because of Chris Jones, but I do believe someone said somewhere that the fact that he's accruing all these fines is maybe a good sign that they plan on doing a deal because he wouldn't just want to lose all this money without something coming in the end. But I don't think Omenihu looked very good. That's the other thing. I don't think it looked very good against the Saints.
I think it was Arrowhead Live that tweeted out and said, logically, if there was no chance of a deal getting done between the two sides, Chris Jones would then report to camp because why keep accruing fines if that's not going to get done? And you know you're going to play on this 1 year on your contract. And he liked that tweet.
He liked that tweet. That's right.
He liked it because we're paying attention to liked tweets and everything else for Chris Jones. He liked the intention as well. Linebacker group. The linebacker group. I went in with a 10. That my confidence in the linebackers, signing Drew Tranquill, having Chanel play last year and look pretty good, and having the Super Bowl that he had in limited reps, but he still held his own, and then Nick Bolton and Willie Gay. Those 4 guys, not 10 out of 10 as the most talented, but 10 out of 10 in my confidence that I didn't have anything to worry about with the linebacker group. I went in with a 10. Josh?
I opened with an 8. I still felt really good about the group coming in, but Leo Chanel had not proven to me that he was a starting linebacker, and Drew Tranquill was new. So I started at an 8, still pretty optimistic.
I started at an 8. Let's not be ridiculous with the 10. Just throwing 10s out there like, well, okay. I hadn't seen
the French judge over here.
I haven't seen Drew Tranquill play at that time.
Yeah,
it's been good from what I've seen at camp and then in that first game for a few snaps. So I started at an 8.
Okay, Dylan.
I'm gonna go 8 again as well.
You guys hate the linebackers. Interesting. Good to note. I started at a 10 and I ended up at a 10.
That makes sense
because everything's looked perfectly fine. Exactly what I thought it would look like anyway. Josh,
I lifted it up to a 9.
Okay.
Now
Homer,
I'm holding a point back because now it's up to Spags. You get to decide now, Coach. You decide if this is a 9 or a 10 or a 9.5. I think Drew Tranquill should be playing the Lions' share of snaps in this linebacking group right now
against the Lions.
Definitely against the Lions, and really, actually. Just to be clear, as the year goes on, it would make even more sense. But I would love to see him play the Lions share against Detroit as well.
I'd like to see him play the Bills share.
I'd like to see him play the
Bengals share.
The Bengals share. That's right. I want to see him play the Bengals share for sure. But I really think they've got 4 very good linebackers. My question now is that I think Drew Tranquill and Willie Gay are the 2 best coverage linebackers, and I don't think Spags is going to take Nick Bolton off the field for much of any reason. But I like that group a lot. I'm going to say a 9.
Tranquill violently takes it up to a 9 for me.
Nice. I like the violent Drew Tranquill.
And I'm going to have to carbon copy Josh's answer. It's spot on. And
I had the same answer, too. So technically, you're a copy of a copy.
Well, there we go.
You ever seen Multiplicity? He hasn't. He has.
And I'll just add that Chanel looked really good, in my opinion. I think he looked like he took a jump.
Leo.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen that movie.
No, I don't know what you're talking
about. Text says, if Chris Jones signs a new contract, I'll go from 6 to midnight. So let's talk about the
damn, I wish I would have thought about
quarterback room. What we've seen from I started off with the cornerback room with an 8. That's where I was for a number of different reasons.
Say some different numbers here.
Yeah, I also started with an 8, but I've written down, so I'm not just copying Jason.
All right. Mick, would you start with a 2? 11?
A 9?
9? 8.4?
Do a decimal, because I don't do a decimal.
8.10.
Do a decimal.
I'll say
4.1.
I'll say a 7.
Put you down for 7.9.
I'll do 7.
7? Oh,
see,
7.
I mean, you guys still
carbon copy.
Not a whole lot of depth there.
I've dropped it to a 6. Snead's injury and Watson and Williams' struggles in training camp.
What's mine say, Mick?
I have dropped it to a 6.
It says, I love Jason. I want to keep my job.
Mine says I've gone from an 8 to a 6.
Oh, about that.
Right with you.
That's the worst.
Snead injury, a little bit of uncertainty about the CB3 spot.
Yeah.
I like that group a lot. I think it'll be fine. Snead's knee worries me. Need for knees.
Take that down to a 5, baby.
5 for you.
Yeah, coaches calling out 2 of those cornerbacks. You got Snead. He's one of the best players on this team. Not out there. I'm going to take that down 2 spots.
Yep, me too. I'm going to go to 5, just copy Mick again.
We all went down 2 spots.
How about you start with Dylan, go back through me to Josh, and then you this time. How about that?
Everybody, we went from 8 to 6. You guys went from 7 to 5.
Yeah.
All right, safety. Final spot. Safety. Dylan, what'd you have there, Dylan?
I started with a 7.
The 7. Mick? God, you should have just said, I'm going to go with 7. I think.
Safety position's good. It's a 7. Sure, 7.
I opened with a 6.
You opened with a 6. Interesting. I'm more confident. I opened with an 8.
Whoa, really?
Just in confidence that how good I think they'll be, just not having to worry about them.
I opened with a 6.
Cool. All right, Josh, why don't we go to you?
Oh, sure. I've landed on an 8 now.
Oh, cool.
Everything about Brian Cook has sounded very, very good so far. I just want to keep seeing that from him. And the veteran safety... What?
Brian Cook, right?
Yeah.
What did I say?
I thought you said Brandon.
I think I said Brian.
Okay.
B. Cook. The safety
B.
they
Cook,
drafted.
baby.
That's Cincy safety. And we haven't really heard much at all from Edwards, which is a good thing, I think, at this point. Deion Bush is still out there. Like, there are some options down the depth that makes you feel a little better. I was concerned about losing Juan Thornhill, but I think Reed and Cook as your starting duo, I feel good about now, so I'm going with an 8.
I'm staying at 7 because I don't pay attention to the safeties.
I'll go 6. Just kind of what Josh said. I do like Brian Cook a lot, but also I don't
So you
like
dropped one?
Dropped one because it did feel like they were out of position a lot, and that Derek Carr kind of got what he wanted over the middle.
That's fair. If you want to be scared of that, I would get it.
Because we're taking the pulse right now.
Right.
So that is totally fair. I kept it as an 8. I wish Dylan would have just said, I'm going to keep it as 7, agree with Mick, because I don't pay attention to the safeties. We didn't do specialist. I'm good with, I went into camp and came out of camp with the same feeling about Winchester.
Yeah, but what's the number, though? What's the number, though?
15.
Because the quarterback to anything that matters, or you're adding them all
I'm
up,
gonna go
or 15 out of 10?
I'm going to go an 8 because of it would be a 9 if it was just Townsend. It'd be a 7 if it's just Butker. But maybe Butker's because of Townsend. So I'm at 8.
I'll go 10-10 because I don't know a lot of teams whose safety is also a backup kicker. So
Ooh, that's a good point. They
Really
have
good
depth.
point, which tells you that should they even keep a kicker on this
That's
roster?
what I said this earlier, kind of as a joke, and now I think this show's gone in the direction where they should really consider this.
Last 2 times I saw those guys out there, they were kicking field goals to win a championship in the AFC and the Super
I
Bowl.
feel like
I'll go.
Justin Reed could have kicked those same field goals, though.
think so,
They were
too.
pretty short.
I'll go 8.5.
I'm going to say 6.9.
I'm going to say break. We'll do that as we'll come back. We'll see who gets the, we'll see who raises the roof this weekend.
I got one for you guys. I got one. I got a take for you.
And is Tyreek Hill joshing us, or is he telling the truth? Is he being sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek, or is he a guy that preps with Madden? We'll explain next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
Mick Schaefer hanging out with us, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Sterling Holmes will be in for Rim Petra today.
Oh, boy. I'll listen to that.
Take that.
A couple minutes.
Everybody, take that. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. The text line. We'll see who's going to raise the roof this weekend. We were talking in the break about, I don't know, different things. And it popped into my head last night. Like, the whole kids say the darndest things. And you know what? Kids might be paying attention more when you're sort of watching things than you think. Like, my son loves watching football with me. We watch baseball, all that stuff. So last night they were at baseball practice and kid pitch. So they're going through that learning. And the
walks and strikeouts, baby.
Yeah, the kids that are catching, it's a little difficult to squat, So one of the kids was like wanting to do the salvi, one knee on the ground and stretch the right leg out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's what pros do, okay? You're not a pro, and the pitch can go anywhere, and you can't get to it. The pros aren't throwing pitches all over the backstop. And my son's like, Dylan Coleman.
Yeah.
I was like, you're 7, dude.
Dylan
You really just... Dude, why is Dylan Coleman catching an L? We're 7 years old. Come on, man. I just like...
Tony Paney was Tony
wrong.
Paney was the first catcher I remember who caught like that.
Yeah.
And I was a catcher growing up, and I loved it. It was so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And they never talked me out of it, and it probably... I don't know if it helped
great.
or hurt.
The first time...
But it kept me down on balls, balls in the ground. Baseballs being thrown in the ground kept me down with trying to block them.
Well, it was great because the first one, like this kid gets down, his left knee's on the ground and his right leg's extended, right? So he's got his left arm getting ready to catch, and the ball is outside to the right-handed hitter. So it'd be to his. He'd have to
throwing side, arm side,
yeah. So and he starts to reach over, but he can't move because his leg's there.
Yeah,
and it goes, and I'm like, this is why you've got to be. This is why you're not a pro. Okay, so we explained what we wanted you to do. Now you see the why. Okay, so now we get it. Let's let's do it like it's like when you're catching the ball in the outfield, 2 hands while you're learning. Okay, let's go with that. Let's hear from Tyreek Hill, and let's decipher and read into or listen into what he's saying here. And is he just having some fun? Is he tongue-in-cheek, being sarcastic, or is there a level of being serious here? He talks about not watching film. So this first question is
in there, too.
You'll
hear the
and it's
reporter.
about sort of getting ready for a game, and you hear Tyreek talk about, film and not really watching film and things like that, which to me isn't really the point of the clip. It's the follow-up and then his answer. Let's take a listen.
In terms of honing in on mental side, is that something that's always been the key for you, or was there a point in your career where you really started to focus on like film study or anything like that?
Man, believe this or not, I don't watch no film, bro. Like, I just know the game of football inside out. Like, I've been playing this game since I was a kid, since I was like 5, 6, and I grew up in a football household. So, plus my dad was a coach. You feel me? So I know every defense. I know every defensive line. What they doing. Like, I know everything. The safety's gonna tell the story. Like, I know all of it. And when I first came into the league, obviously I was athletic. Obviously, I had the ability to make plays. But the next step is being able to recognize coverages. Being able to understand a DB's leverage and what certain releases you need to use. So I've been all about that. And I'm getting the young guys on that too, though, whether it's Waddle, whether it's, other guys in our room. You feel me?
Tyreek, you mentioned earlier that you don't watch film.
Right.
So, especially if you're going against a corner who hasn't been established in the league, how do you get a read on him? Do you use the first few plays of the game to get used to what he's...
Nah, so I feel like Madden has a good tell of how good players are. So I just play Madden the night before, and I go look at all their ratings. So... let's say, for instance, they had Steve Nelson and Derek Stingley over there, 2 phenomenal players, by the way. I just go get on Madden. I go to the EA rosters, then I scroll down and see what their awareness is, their speed is, and their strength, and that's how I get a good tell on them.
Is he joking around there about not watching film that he gets ready with Madden, or is there a level of him being serious? Like, no, I don't watch film. I'll just go play Madden and see what these guys do.
So I'd heard the second clip already. I didn't hear how in-depth he had gone into the first clip.
Right.
So before that, I'm like, he's just trolling. He's just saying whatever.
Exactly.
He saw the Manziel doc. He saw all the run that Johnny Manziel got for saying he watched zero film. He wants to board that train. But hearing the first clip, sounds like maybe he doesn't. which is dumb, right? I mean, you don't watch film to really learn the game of football as much as you do, like, tendencies of the guys you're going up against, right? How they break huddles, right? Where their feet line up, or where their eyes are going before, during, and after the snap. All those little things. So my guess is that he watches plenty of film at the facility, right, in the room, going over, and then after that, no, he doesn't watch any at home.
I would guess that with the wide receivers group that they're watching film, like because he even said,
every positional group's going to watch film together.
Well, yeah, he even said it earlier in the interview when he said about practice, that practice has been going good. He said obviously you're going to have some ups and downs in football. It's part of the game. You go to the film room, you learn from it, you get better from it. Well, that's just self-scouting, looking at yourself in the film. This was you're preparing for another opponent cornerback. You watch film on that guy, as you prepare for that. He's like, no, don't watch film on him. Don't watch film on this guy going up against me. And I don't know.
I can believe that second clip. I can believe that he.
I can't. When I heard it on its own, I thought he was just joking around. But then when you hear it with the previous question and answer, I think there's more. I think it's more serious than there's more truth to it than just
I believe he
tongue-in-cheek.
plays a ton of Madden and on his own doesn't watch much, if any, film.
Yeah.
I believe those two things. Yes.
I think that's probably the takeaway, which is just we've all made this sound really normal the last couple of minutes. The craziest thing that anyone has said in an NFL press conference all training camp is that Tyreek Hill goes home with Johnny Manziel's iPad, and he's one of the most dominant things we've ever seen in the history of American football. He goes home and the night before a game looks at the Madden ratings of the corners he's going to go up against. Like, yes, of course. Look, there's no way on earth that he was a wide receiver in Andy Reid's offense for the first act of his career and never learned how to watch film in a meeting room. He absolutely had to be there for meetings. That has to be true. Well, how much attention is he paying to it? I don't know. But I have to imagine that in an Andy Reid offense, you're getting quizzed on that in real time, and that's growing your knowledge of the game. But hearing him say in his justification, well, my dad was a coach, and quote, I know everything.
Everything.
That's a hell of a way to approach your NFL career, and it doesn't matter because he's in the third person calling himself Cheetah. But hey, don't eat like Cheetah. Don't hydrate like Cheetah. Cheetah eats like garbage. Someone else should eat well and drink well and watch your film. I'm me.
He's also an alien, though.
Yes, I know. It's amazing.
He's got the special ability that does he need to pay attention to this foot, that foot over there to gain separation?
I would say yes. He could always get better.
You can always get better.
Unless you know everything, which he does.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Unless you know everything.
He knows everything.
You can always get better, but if you've always just been different, was that sort of instilled in that you need to get better this way, that way, that he's just simply that good at running routes or that good at gaining separation?
How many interceptions did he cause off drop balls off his hand his last year in Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes, when maybe if he had studied film, he would know, okay, you know what, the corner isn't going to jump me here, the safety's not going to come up, I need to turn my head earlier, this is what Patrick Mahomes is going to be seeing, and stuff like that.
Well, it might be just regular defenses you might watch, as opposed to them saying specific cornerbacks you're going up against. You watch film on them, on their tendencies of what they do. Because also in the NFL, you don't really have many cornerbacks that are traveling specifically with one particular guy, right? To where it's like, I'm going up against like Jalen Ramsey this week. If it's Jalen Ramsey that week, I do wonder if he might watch some film on Jalen Ramsey. He might just be a guy that, like, I had a fraternity brother that never went to school or never went to class. Straight A's. It was annoying as hell. Straight A's. Just never went to class. He'd get somebody's notes, look them over, and then
There's no like
he just had like
attendance that's
he
required.
had like a photograph.
The college you went to.
He had like a photographic
Was that a real
memory.
college? Were they accredited and stuff?
I don't know.
Okay.
He was always sleeping. I know that. Photographic memory. He's like, oh yeah, just, and then shows up and gets an A. It's annoying. Maybe Tyreek, like other wide receivers, like, well, I've got to study this because if this guy moves that, that's the only way I can gain
I bet
separation.
there are a lot of guys like that. First of all,
where Tyreek is like, nope, I just do a little jitterbug and go back because I'm faster than everybody else and quicker than everybody else.
We see all the documentaries and all the stories and the behind the scene looks are with quarterbacks, right? And they have to, right? They have to make that their job. That's their homework every single night because it's not just one cornerback, right? They're looking at 11 plus guys across the way, and you have to pay attention to your own guys and what they're doing and everything. But I bet there are a lot of guys at other positions who are like, you know what? I put my film study in at the facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was there for a couple hours each day. We did that. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Who's going to raise the roof this weekend, Josh?
I think I've got an answer for you. Raise the Roof's brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction. One call does it all. I think the Chiefs' first team offense is going to raise the roof tomorrow night.
Right.
I think that all of that talk of how sluggish they were out of the gate, and then Mahomes himself being the guy that tries to pick up the energy at halftime, then sets the tone for the backups and all. I don't think they want to come out flat again this week. So I think we're going to see a little more pop from the first team offense. And if your roof is flat and shouldn't be, you should call Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Kansas City's local residential and commercial roofing contractors. One call does it all.
All right, we'll come back. We got the cuts next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you...
There was.
Yeah, that's right.
It was probably I didn't know if you were done talking.
I wasn't.
Is that this week?
No, that was like a month ago. We're going back into one. We got a big archive.
Oh, cool.
And haven't made it yet.
Great.
It's on. Stuff from Tahoe.
No,
that's
way.
from Tahoe.
Mm-hmm.
There's clips
That's
from
exactly right. It's not like it'd be like, man, no, I really want to go home. I miss my wife and kids.
Jason doesn't miss his wife.
That's not true.
We have a no jerks policy.
Tahoe.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. We don't have that here.
No.
So he walks over, and he's walking by, and I said, hey, Patrick, man, you got 5 minutes to sit down? He goes, man, I wish, but I got to go over here and tee off. But if you're here tomorrow, I'll come back and see you. And I
Pro's
thought,
pro.
Thought you. I'm not here tomorrow. I'm not. And then I wonder, and Drake said, yeah, he knew that. That's probably right.
856 and 747 have been fighting, and I mean they're eventually gonna have some word, because last night 856 went over to 747 while he was sleeping and said, "You woke up the wrong mother bleeper."
You talking bears? All bear talk.
Oh, Fat Bear. I wish we would have talked about that instead of the Michelle conversation.
I was just sitting here, and you guys came back from the break and everything, and I'm hearing you, Jason, you talking, and saying, and we're, and hey, Matt Drake's back in the studio, and I'm like, I'm not in the studio. And, hey, Matt, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've never really heard myself referred to that way when I wasn't somewhere, and I was like, gosh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I was on remote. I thought Matt Derrick was here in studio, and he was not. He was on the phone, so we found out together. Matt Derrick found out he was on the phone, so did I.
You're both promoting.
Today was sort of the inverse of that, where he was in studio. We had him on the phone.
That's right, as he was getting off the elevator.
Maybe there's maybe I've been cloned. Maybe I'm dead. Maybe I'm in a multiverse of some sort, and there's two of me somewhere.
I wish.
I don't blame you, Jason. I would abandon you to talk to just about anybody.
And he definitely would have left to go talk to Nate Bargatze.
You know I love you, Jason.
Gosh, darn it, Josh! I hate you.
I know.
Because I love you.
Thank you.
That was a really good one. You're like Bill Self. I hate you because I like you. Damn it.
It's tough being
Well done.
unbearable. Oh! God, that was good.
I took a screenshot of that and sent it to my wife. It's like, show Everett. Now he's really going to think I'm his hero.
Yes. Hey, finally!
Yeah, he never did anyway.
My son's going to respect me.
Thank God.
Patrick Mahomes retweeted Daddy.
We go and play catch all the time. I throw batting practice to him. We go and shoot around with the little basketball, and I'm his rebounder, and I'm helping him do all that stuff. No. Patrick Mahomes retweeted you? You're so cool.
You really are the second coolest dad in the world. Patrick Mahomes is still number one, but you know,
Of course he is.
I mean, top two's pretty good.
Of course he's the coolest. You ever think about like when
you're like the Joe Burrow of dads?
That's so good.
My junior year of college, we were in the playoffs, the end of the season, post-playoffs. And the last at-bat, the day before that we had won, I got drilled with like 94-mile-an-hour sinker right on the elbow. And my lead elbow, my left hand, I'm a right-handed hitter. And the next day, I had iced it and tried to compress it away and saw the trainer and did the best I could, but I couldn't sleep that night. And I woke up, and it was like the size of my left butt cheek. It was huge, and I've got back. So I've got baseball booty. And so it literally was like it was butt cheek on my arm kind of thing. And I know this is going to be clipped.
Of course.
And it was.
Butt cheek on my arm.
Of course.
And it was like the size of my left butt cheek. It was huge, and I've got back.
I've got back.
And I've got baseball booty.
I don't see the problem here, Jason. I've been fighting depression by complaining on Twitter for years now. Oh, Tom Brady touched your butt. Why didn't you just say I'm the guy whose butt Tom Brady touched?
How does Tom Brady like his balls? Are they deflated, inflated? You have experience with that.
I have no context.
You woke up the wrong mother sneezer.
If anything, I should probably just fight Dave Tobe.
See? Matt's trying to take a run at everybody, by the way.
No,
I have no idea.
A month ago.
Maybe.
I have exclusive reports that Matt Derrick is, in fact, ready to go from talking to Patrick Mahomes to talking to Jason Anderson, completing the best day of his life.
I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. No, I saved it. Saved it.
2 days in a row.
This is a lot,
Here's
man.
the thing. Here's my problem.
Here's some paper towels.
I know. Here's my problem with this thing. So
it's the Contigo.
I'm drinking in the break.
No,
it's
that is the problem.
We all do.
I forget to close it. See, when it's closed, it doesn't do anything. It's good.
What's that?
What's that?
What's that?
And likewise in the offense, he's got a little familiarity with the offense, but just learning and staying on top of that becomes important. Hey, come here, huh? Come here. So it's a. What are you doing, huh? All right. So, anyways, that's what I've seen.
Is he talking to Adam Teicher?
No, it was Todd Lebo. Yeah.
Hey, Steven. He's in and out of character so effortlessly. It's incredible. Hey, Steven, come here. Hey, what are you doing, Steven? Hey, Todd. Come here, Shuck. What are you doing? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, Mick.
It's great to be seen.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Was, like in
on
the
TV.
first cut, and that was it.
You've got
a
others.
really big love affair with Matt Derrick.
After today, I'm glad that we had so many there because I was afraid he wasn't going to come back.
It was that bad, huh?
It was grisly.
Walk off. You guys have a good weekend. I'm out.
Later, Josh. Have a good weekend, man. No, I'll be here to finish the show. Don't worry about it.
Matt Solomon Wilcox Derrick. That's what we've always called him.
Matt, you know what? Matt has as good of a chance of leading the Chiefs to the Super Bowl as Shane Bichelle does.
I feel it's less.
Nope, same chance. 0.
Attention everyone, are you ready for the summer heat? Let ProBuilt Pool and Patio get you started on your summer prep. As the largest provider of fiberglass swimming pools, we have the biggest selection and offer the fastest installation times. At ProBuilt Pool and Patio, we proudly stand behind every home we serve. We make dreams come true and deliver them